What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
1 Obe. Chapter 1. People in the Whitebeard Pirates, the cousin is Whitebeard. The war is over. Roar. It's finally over. Great. With the scarred and bloody admiral of headquarters, Kong Kong announced the end of the Valley of the Gods War. So far, in this horrific war, the Marines and pirates who survived all let out deafening roars. See Circle Calendar 1484. Led by the invincible Locke's pirates, a terrifying war has been waged. Locke's D. Zebek. In order to become the king of the world, this man led the Locke's pirates to attack the Valley of the Gods, trying to kill all the celestial dragons and their slaves in the Valley of the Gods, making himself the king of the world. Pity. The final result was that Marine and the Luogia pirates teamed up to defeat the Locke's pirates. In this battle, more than 50% of the Locke's pirates died in battle, Locke himself died in battle, and Marshal Marine and the two admirals all died in battle, leaving only Marine Admiral, Kong Kong. With such a tragic result, this war has truly come to an end, and the war in the Valley of Gods has come to an end. It also represents the unraveling of the legend of the Locke's pirates. Of course, none of this has anything to do with Locke. Locke, full name Edward Locke. That's right. Locke's identity is very simple. He is the strongest man in the world in the future, the man who launched the Summit War and died generously in the end, Edward Newgate. Cousin of the captain of the Whitebeard pirates known as Whitebeard. Only, compared with his cousin who was 36 years old, Locke is much younger, only 15 years old. Locke stood at the back of the battlefield, couldn't help shaking his head, and complained, but it's really miserable. Naval headquarters and Luogia pirates are really shameless, isn't this just gang fights? One can't do two can't do three, really. In this kind of battle, anyone would have to die here. No idea. To put it bluntly, this is called war, and to put it bluntly, isn't this just gang fights? Naval headquarters Marshal plus 3 Admiral plus Garp, Luogia pirates gold, silver and bronze trio. Good guy. 8 people besieged, finally. In the end, 3 of them were taken away in one breath. It's embarrassing. Locke, what are you thinking? When Locke was distracted, Newgate strode over and asked curiously, what are you thinking here, kid? Be careful, this is a battlefield, and you can easily be killed if you are not careful. Elder brother. Locke waved his hand casually, and said lazily, small problem, the war has just ended, everyone is celebrating, how can I have time for me? La. Newgate laughed. Anyway, Locke, you'd better be careful. In terms of character, family members are the most important, even saying. From Newgate, who went to sea to find his family, then. My cousin, who is almost 20 years younger than me, is my most important family member. Therefore, after Newgate knew the news of his cousin's existence, he didn't care about the upcoming battle in the Valley of the Gods, but immediately picked up his cousin who was located in the Sphinx, for fear that something might happen to his cousin. Only, Newgate obviously lost his head, this is the Valley of the Gods. The war that broke out here, among other things, it is really not easy for Locke, who has small arms and legs, to survive the war safely until the end of the war. Regarding the size of his cousin, Locke complained, brother. You still know to make me pay attention to safety, so why don't you pick me up after the war in the Valley of the Gods is over? Forget. Listening to his cousin's complaints, the corners of Newgate's mouth twitched, expressing that he had completely forgotten about it. Locke shook his head silently, and said helplessly, brother, you should be careful. Be careful, don't be so careless, otherwise. You don't want the family you have worked so hard to find to be buried in your hands, do you? Seriously. Locke is a time traveler. That's right. Locke is a time traveler, and a very advanced 3-no time traveler. No system, no cheat, no grandpa. Locke's response to this is that it's not a big problem, his cousin is Whitebeard. Joke. That is the strongest man in the future century, although he did something stupid during the Summit War, but. Locke said that this is not a big problem, he is a time traveler, although he says he is a time traveler, but he is also a time traveler. In the future, I will help my cousin do research and improve the strength of the Whitebeard pirates. Whether it is to avoid Summit War or to better improve strength, isn't this very good? All in all, Locke not only doesn't feel shameful about his behavior of hugging his thighs, eating and waiting to die, but he thinks it is very good. The shame of the time traveler. Fine. Whatever you want to call him, that's how you call him. Anyway, my young master, I lie quite comfortably. Listening to his cousin's words, Newgate looked careless at first, but he also became serious. For him, the most important thing is his family, everything else, nothing is important. Newgate smacked his lips, clenched the supreme sharp knife Kong Yunchi, one of the 12 craftsmen, and said heavily, Locke, according to your idea, how should we do it? Locke walked to Newgate's side, patted his cousin's, thigh. Shaking his head helplessly, the height of people in this world is generally outrageous. My cousin is a full 6.66 meters tall. With this height, he surpassed 2 floors. Look at yourself again. Locke shook his head silently, pointed to the Valley of the Gods and said, Brother, although the war is said to be over, but treasures should be robbed, but they must be robbed, don't forget. This is the Valley of the Gods. Chapter 2. World Tree Template. Send me a rolling ball animal. Advertise here. Treasure. Grab. Newgate turned his head silently, and had some bold ideas. In fact, it's not just Newgate, Shiki, Linlin, Akoku, John, Silver Axe, including Luogia, these future ones are all famous big pirates, now. It's all stealthy robberies. After all, the Valley of the Gods is a banquet for the celestial dragons, who knows how rich these filthy rich guys are. So, grab what you can, don't be polite, why are you being polite with these celestial dragons? Seeing this scene, Newgate ran straight to the other side of the Valley of the Gods without hesitation. Locke shook his head and complained secretly, Brother, your head is really slow to react. What? Obviously, my cousin, although there is absolutely no need to doubt his strength, but in some aspects, there are more or less problems. But, Marine also acquiesced to the pirates' robbery. It's not surprising. The monster Locke's D. Zebek is dead. If there is a war, it will be a war between Marines and pirates. Based on Marine's current strength, Sora was seriously injured, Garp was also seriously injured, Sengoku was not much better, Zephyr and Crane were both unconscious. If there is a real war, the pirates will definitely have an overall advantage. Locke is observing the battlefield, and he is also carefully thinking about the follow-up direction of this war. It hurts. MD. What's going on? Locke suddenly felt a sharp pain in his brain, and looked around carefully, thinking that some villains wanted to mess with him. But the problem is, with his half-baked observation hockey, he obviously didn't notice that anyone was looking at him. At this time, the headache was getting worse and worse, and Locke felt that he was on the verge of passing out and gradually began to travel. A stream of data flows through Locke's body. Next moment, all the pain disappeared without a trace, and Locke rubbed the center of his brows, then recovered, feeling the sudden extra memory in his head, and said secretly, This thing, it's my job. Benefits for those who travel through. Locke obtained the template of the World Tree, or rather, the inheritance of the World Tree. Such a name, no matter how you call it, is quite appropriate. As for which World Tree? That's the one, from the digital world, with 13 royal knights under his command, but they are generally unreliable, and even the World Tree that someone has dedicated to cutting down trees for 30 years. As for why he got the World Tree inheritance, according to Locke's own memory research, what he got is actually not the complete World Tree inheritance. Joke. The complete inheritance of the World Tree, large and small, can be regarded as a god of creation, but a god of creation who can create and destroy the world. Exactly. The inheritance I inherited is the inheritance of the Night King who controls the part of the Royal Knights of the World Tree, Maybe it's called like this, although it always reminds people of a certain dull hair, but it's quite appropriate to call it this way. Summoner. It suits me very well. Locke researched it and found that his ability is equivalent to a summoner. But, have to say, for a person like me who thinks about being bad every day and intends to enjoy life leisurely, this kind of ability is really suitable for me. Let me study it. So, that, no problem. Locke carefully studied the authority of the Night King that he had inherited, and after a long while, his own research was almost done. First, you can create digital eggs yourself, but the digital eggs created by oneself are limited to the basic template among the 13 royal knights. Secondly, the evolution route of Digimon should have been ever-changing, but because he inherited the authority of the World Tree, the evolutionary route is a fixed royal knight route. Overall, it feels pretty good. Locke for this template for yourself. Cheat. I still feel very satisfied. In the future, I will walk in front, followed by the 13 royal knights. That is quite cool, isn't it? As for, can I awaken the angelic form of Uncle Ao, Sister Fa's dragon sword form, the Duke's crimson form, Jess GX form? Locke felt that he was basically enough. Even if he didn't awaken a lot of special forms, the ultimate royal knight should be basically equivalent to the admiral level, right? Regarding this point, Locke always feels that it is really difficult to say, mainly among the royal knights, the upper and lower limits are too high. These don't need to be discussed first. Besides, it's a Digimon, right? Locke rubbed the center of his brows slightly, then opened one hand, strands of data emerged, and as the data flickered, a digital egg gradually emerged. Followed by, this digital egg hatches at a speed visible to the naked eye, and evolves for the first time. A ball-like Digimon has 2 ears. Rolling Beast. Looking at the rolling ball beast, Locke had another idea, and said secretly in his heart, I don't know if I can't raise a god of war. Well, it's not very likely. I have inherited authority. The problem, well, it's not a big problem. People's hearts are not enough to swallow elephants. Locke is a person who goes with the situation. Although he has inherited the authority of the World Tree, in general, it is enough, and there is no need to be too entangled. Lord Locke. The roller beast is bouncing between Locke's hands, extremely lively and active. Looking at the bouncing rolling ball beast, Locke also showed a smile, and said, "Rolling ball beast, you need to grow up quickly, and protect me in the future." Chapter 3. Brother. In the original book, what did you miss? Advertise here. Lord Locke. Lord Locke. The roller beast bounced around Locke, chirping. Locke. Hearing his cousin's call, Locke turned his head and saw Newgate walking over like a hill carrying treasure chests of all sizes. Locke was taken aback, the corners of his mouth twitched, and he couldn't help complaining. Brother, are you taking celestial dragons home? Bump. Newgate threw the treasure in front of Locke. Locke raised his eyebrows, and felt as if he was shaking. Newgate explained. Locke, what are you talking about? During the war, a celestial dragons was accidentally destroyed directly. These treasures are the treasures of the celestial dragons, which Lousy just snatched from other people. A celestial dragon. Brother. They are watching. Although he had read the original book, Locke looked at the big and small treasure chests in front of him, and had a different feeling about the wealth of celestial dragons again, and then pointed not far away. Gu-la-la-la. Following Locke's finger, Newgate turned his head, grinned at the corner of his mouth, his eyes flashed with a terrifying fighting intent, and said with a ferocious smile, "Hey. Hey, do you guys have any objections? What? Don't just watch, come and talk to Lousy." Boom. The dark purple air burst out of Newgate's body in an instant. Now Newgate is only 36 years old, and he is on the way to the top of his life. At this time, the terrifying conqueror's hockey seems to make him the entire Valley of the Gods was silent for it. Akoku, John, Silver Axe, Linlin, 4 people, you look at me, I look at you. Never mind. It's a bit wrong to fight this madman like Newgate, it's unnecessary, absolutely unnecessary. But, the 4 looked at Locke silently, but their eyes were full of murderous intent. They heard that Newgate was not interested in these treasures at first, but in the end, it was because of this stinky brat. What? You 4 guys, do you have a problem with Lousy's brother? What? Look at the eyes of these 4 people, damn it. Newgate was unwilling in an instant, and his anger was burning directly. Damn, don't you know that the most important thing for Lousy is family? Do you dare to look at Lousy's brother with this look? Quote. Facing Newgate's anger, whether it's Linlin who hasn't grown up, or the other 3 people who are a little bit weaker, they all silently withdraw their gazes. Forget it, it's really not worth fighting this Whitebeard. Locke waved his hands calmly and said, "Brother, forget it, fighting them now is basically a mortal situation, and it can't be done. Let's go, we'll just withdraw." Newgate took a last look at the 4 guys, and picked up the treasure again, and soon boarded a pirate ship. Under Newgate's driving, the pirate ship moved very quickly towards the distance. With the departure of the Edward brothers, the others also took the treasures they found and left on the pirate ship. So far, the war in the Valley of the Gods has come to an end. The pirate ship was sailing on the sea. After leaving the waters of the Valley of the Gods, Newgate didn't bother to care about it. He determined the course and began to sail freely along the wind. Locke, what is this little guy? Newgate sat down cross-legged, looking at the bouncing ball beasts bouncing around Locke, his face was full of curiosity. Locke picked up rolling ball beast, leaned on the recliner, and lazily explained, "Brother, just treat it as my fruit ability." All right. Newgate didn't pay too much attention either. His observation hockey had reached such a terrifying level that it could be seen at a glance that there was no need to be vigilant about the endless kindness emanating from the rolling ball beast. Correct. Locke, let's open the treasure chest and see what's inside. Open the treasure chest. I'm willing to open this. Locke sat down lazily. Just kidding. I am not interested in the others, but I am very interested in this one. I have to see how much treasure I have snatched from the celestial dragons. Let me see. Locke sat on the ground and opened the treasure chests one by one, although he said he was lazy, but I like things like opening boxes very much. Rubbing his hands, Locke underestimated with a smile. Get some good stuff. Let me see if there is any good stuff. Talking. Locke directly opened the treasure chest in front of him. He was stunned for a moment, followed by his eyes narrowed, and he swears, "Damn it. Brother, there are at least 20 devil fruits in it. My dear, this. Hot fruit, transpiration fruit, book fruit, mirror fruit, stone fruit, quote. Locke took out the devil fruits one by one, as a temporary crutch for the Locke's pirates, read the entire devil fruit illustrated book, and memorized it directly, just to prevent devil fruits he didn't know. Joke. Locke said that he was not so serious during the college entrance examination, okay. But, Locke put down the devil fruit one after another, raised his head, looked at his cousin, and after a moment of silence, he said a meaningful sentence. Brother, I didn't say you are in the original book, what is it? What did you miss? Quote. Newgate heard that Locke's words were obviously not good, but he couldn't understand what they meant. He couldn't help scratching his head. He always felt that something was wrong, but he still couldn't understand. Chapter 4. Taking a step back, the more you think about it, the more you get angry. Advertise here. Fine, elder brother. You don't need to know what it means. Locke directly skipped this topic, put the devil fruits in his hands into different categories, stood up, and said, there are 21 devil fruits in total, 8 of which can be identified, and the rest cannot be identified for the time being, or find someone to identify them. Or it's a gamble. But there's no need to worry about this matter. Anyway, our big cats and kittens are counted as rolling ball beasts, which means 2.5 if they are full. Gu la la la. What's the rush? Newgate smiled sassily, and didn't care about his cousin's complaints just now, and continued to follow Locke to open other treasure chests. As the treasure chests are opened one by one, there are basically a lot of treasures in each treasure chest, there are countless gold and silver treasures, and there are many materials that are extremely precious above the sea. In general, these treasures, it is definitely enough for a pirate group to grow from scratch. Elder brother. Locke opened all the treasure chests, a total of 22. Looking at the gold and silver treasures, devil fruit, precious materials, and rare treasures in front of him, after a moment of silence, he continued to complain. I still say that, in the original book, what treasure did you miss? Never mind. Never mind. Locke waved his hand and said, anyway, it's a trivial matter. This matter is not a big problem. Let's not talk about the past. Let's discuss the next thing, brother. I think we must first. Newgate said seriously. We need to find our family members first. The corner of Locke's mouth twitched slightly, and he refused without hesitation. Brother, the most important thing for us is to build a pirate ship, please. We are pirates, and now we don't even have a decent pirate ship. What are you doing? Quote. Ah, all right. Newgate smacked his lips, thinking that what Locke said was quite reasonable. Locke couldn't help sighing, and secretly complained, it's really outrageous. Brother, what is the situation? It's not like this in the original book, is it? Actually, this can be regarded as Newgate's true character, he is a carefree patriarch, just. In the original book, Newgate carried the entire Whitebeard pirate group on his shoulders alone, as well as its 43 pirate groups, and the total number of people has reached 50,000 to 60,000. With such a huge number, Newgate couldn't relax in any way. No matter what time it was, he had to show his attitude of being an absolute strongman. It cannot be leaked, and absolutely cannot leak any hesitation. Facing Locke is different. Locke is his cousin, that is his real family, so why pretend to be a wolf with a big tail in front of his real family? But, Locke, where are we going to build a ship? Newgate paid more attention to this issue. Shipbuilding must not be able to build a ship casually. That must be a good ship, after all. On the sea, for pirates, the pirate ship is their home. Locke is also quite thoughtful about this, just kidding. This is my future. Cough cough cough, is it a good place to lie flat? If not comfortable enough, that must not work. Locke also scratched his head, sat cross-legged on the ground, and thought. Brother, in theory, we should go to the capital of Seven Waters to build ships, but where is the royal shipyard of the world government, and we are in New World? If this run to the Grand Line, probably it will be easy for Marine to arrest him directly. Newgate nodded again and again. Locke looked at his cousin's appearance, and couldn't help complaining. Brother, you use your brain. Why do I feel that since you picked it up for me, you have completely lost your mind? Gu la la la. Newgate sat cross-legged on the deck, laughing and said, isn't this the right thing to do? Locke, you should do this kind of mind-boggling thing. Locke said silently, but the problem is, brother, I'm going to lay down and lie down. Newgate waved his hand, and said with a majestic look, Locke, think about it, isn't your current use of your brain just for the sake of a better future? Don't you think so? Listening to Newgate's words, Locke felt that it seemed to be so reasonable, but he always felt that his eldest brother seemed to be Pua himself. Never mind. Locke was too lazy to think about it, and said helplessly, it's really annoying. However, if you want to say that the best shipyard in New World is the ship graveyard, right? There are a group of shipbuilders with brain problems gathered there. Carpenter. Newgate nodded and said, the Black Pearl of the Locke's pirates was built in the grave of the ship, but that broken place is not easy to go to. The currents there are very special, and special permanent pointers are needed, otherwise if not, the special ocean currents will probably make our heads dizzy in the half-baked sailing of the two of us. Locke blinked and asked, brother, who has the permanent pointer to the ship's grave? Newgate thought for a while, and said, that guy Silver Axe, he has a permanent pointer to the grave of the ship in his hand. Back then, after we went to the grave of the ship and built the Black Pearl, that guy took the permanent pointer away. Stand up. Silver Axe. Locke thought about the guy wearing silver armor and holding a silver giant axe. Xiaoshang spread his hands and said, there is nothing we can do. Brother, we can only study and study to grab the vote for that guy Silver Axe, otherwise. Grand Lines, you can't go to the capital of Seven Waters, if you are not afraid of sailing a boat built elsewhere, it will sink directly. Then I didn't say anything. Okay, deal. Newgate immediately nodded without hesitation. The other side. As everyone left from the Valley of the Gods, Silver Axe, a grumpy guy, became more and more angry. Why? Obviously it was the treasure that I and others were looking at first, but it was snatched by you, Newgate. The more you take a step back, the more you think about it, the more angry you become, and the more you think about it for a while, the more you suffer. All in all, the silver axe came with such a displeasure that the straight-up driver's boat was coming straight for Brother Edward. No, Lousy refused to accept it. In today's situation, Lousy must get back. Chapter 5. Rolling Ball Beast Head, huh. Evolved. Eat my little flame. Whitebeard. And that brat. Both of you brothers will die for Lousy. Asshole. Quote. The Edward brothers were researching where to find Silver Axe. At this time, just heard the roar of yelling. The two brothers turned their heads silently. For a while, there was silence. Locke looked at the galloping pirate ship, and silently complained. Brother, these guys in the Locke's pirates, do they have brain problems? Newgate was silent for a moment, and said, to be honest, except for Akoku, everyone else has more or less brain problems. Including yourself. Of course Locke said this in his heart. Just kidding, according to his elder brother's strength, it would be easy to give himself a good beating. Exactly. Since Silver Axe took the initiative to come to the door, then grab the permanent pointer of this guy Silver Axe. But, brother, I still can't understand, what exactly is Silver Axe thinking? Wouldn't he think that someone with this point is your opponent? Locke thinks that the permanent pointer is sure enough, but the problem is, what should be complained is still to be complained. This is outrageous. Silver Axe took the initiative to come to Newgate to trouble him. There are a total of 6 cadres in the Locke's pirates: Newgate, Shiki, Linlin, Akoku, John, and Silver Axe. Among these 6 people, Newgate and Shiki are the strongest. It was followed by Linlin. As for Akoku, John, and Silver Axe, the strength of the 3 is at the bottom. Actually, from the original book, it can be seen that Silver Axe is missing. John died miserably, and only Akoku occupies Hachinosu. It barely looks good. The 3 of them in the future are either one of the 3 legendary pirates. Shiki, or Linlin, one of the 4 emperors, is simply incomparable. Not to mention that Newgate is one of the 3 legendary pirates and one of the 4 emperors. That's not a horizontal line at all. Brother, I will leave this matter to you. I'll go get some snacks and just watch the excitement. Locke waved his hand at Newgate, and walked into the cabin calmly, as if you come and I watch the excitement. Newgate didn't care either, he was already used to the lazy look of his cousin. Gu la la la. Newgate looked at Silver Axe in front of him, and laughed ferociously. Hey, Silver Axe, you bastard, are you looking for death? How dare you trouble Lousy? Silver Axe looked at Newgate, especially the treasure that was placed on the deck and hadn't had time to clean up, and he was even more angry. TMs. This should have been Lousy's treasure. In the end, you 2 brothers were snatched away. Lousy can't accept it at all. Whitebeard, you die for Lousy. Silver Axe roared, and the silver battle axe in his hand fell straight down from top to bottom. Wave. The jet black armament hockey is attached, between Setsuna. A terrifying silver slash came straight to Newgate, and a long crack was drawn in the sea, as if to separate the heaven and the earth. Gu la la la. It looks really good. Although Newgate said that with his mouth, his eyes were full of terrifying killing intent, he clenched his fist with one hand, and smashed it into the air. Wave. The air burst instantly. Paramesha shock fruit. According to legend, the devil fruit has the power to destroy the world, and in the hands of Newgate, a talented monster, the power of this devil fruit has even reached its ultimate. Of course, the biggest disadvantage of shock fruit is that the powerful power brings a backlash against the ability user itself, which is easy to cause hidden injuries. In Newgate's original book, when you were young, your physical fitness was extremely terrifying. Of course, it was an attitude of not caring, but as you grow older, everything is completely different. Various problems are naturally appeared. Some at war. In this war, the Whitebeard pirates will definitely lose. Just kidding. Marine Counts Sengoku, Garp, Sakazuki, Pelusolino, and Kuzan. This is a total of 5 admiral-level powerhouses. There are also monsters of the older generation like Crane. I don't know if they are admiral-level powerhouses. Bye. No kidding. Not to mention Newgate in old age, even Newgate at his peak, he absolutely hated Northwest. Of course, Newgate at his peak, the limit of 1 for 1, or even 1 for 2 is not a big problem. As far as Sakazuki was concerned, he was basically hammered to death. Little ones. Give it to Lousy. Silver Axe watched Newgate make a move. At this time, his scalp was also a little numb. How should I put it? He just became more and more angry when he thought about it. When the real fight happened, he suddenly reacted. MMs. Lousy is not Newgate's opponent at all. The strength gap between the two is really not small. So, Silver Axe can only consider whether he can use the number of people to directly stack Newgate to death. Gu la la la. Silver Axe. You bastard, are you looking down on Lousy? Newgate laughed boldly, and punched Silver Axe directly again. The terrifying punch directly shattered the air. The atmosphere exploded instantly, the sky shook, the sea churned, and the air exploded. Everything collapsed in an instant. Wow. And at this moment, a pirate had just rushed up, but he resisted the blow head on, and needless to say, he was torn to pieces in an instant. Rolling beast headbutt. At the last moment of its life, the rolling ball beast jumped up and landed on him, killing him completely. With this wave of leaks, the experience value of rolling ball beast was instantly full. With the light of holy evolution flashing, rolling ball beast disappeared and was replaced by a small orange dinosaur. Growth period. Agumon. Small flame. Just as it landed on the edge of the deck, Yagumon opened its mouth and a ball of flames spewed out directly. Chapter 6. Earn experience. Evolve again, Greymon. Holding snacks and beer, Locke just walked out of the cabin unsteadily, when he saw the evolved Agumon with a small flame opening its mouth. Just right. A half-dead pirate under shock fruit in Newgate has been harvested again. This is evolved. Locke was taken aback, walked to the recliner and sat down, muttering curiously, why did this evolve? I research and research. Oh, experience is enough. I see. Defeating the opponent will gain experience, whether it is defeating or killing, but the same opponent can only get it once, unless the opponent's strength has been clearly and greatly improved. That's it. After a little bit of research, Locke finally figured out what was going on, so he nodded in understanding. No, rolling ball beast's head hammer just happened to pick up a monster, and now the small flame picked up another monster. Elder brother, Locke said carelessly, try to save some for Yagumon. Yagumon can still evolve after killing these pirates. Can it still evolve, although Newgate is fighting, but under the coverage of observation hockey, it is natural to discover the evolution of Rolomon into Agumon. I haven't researched what's going on yet. Result. My cousin actually said that it can still evolve, which is a bit interesting. What kind of fruit ability is this? But Newgate's character, but anyone who knows it can understand it, so for his relatives, especially, this is his own younger brother. Since there are requirements, and it is not difficult at all, it is of course a small problem. Joke. Just Silver Axe bringing these 100 or so pirates to trouble Newgate. If Newgate didn't lift their skulls, none of them would know that their skulls were white. Gu la la la. Small idea. Newgate laughed and responded to Locke. A sharp light appeared in his eyes, followed by Shock Fruit's terrifying power, which became detailed. Each pirate was deeply injured, but all it was a slip. Experience in blogging. I don't know if the hundreds of pirates from the Locke's pirates are enough to evolve from Agumon to Tyrannosaurus. While eating the ice cream, Locke was thinking about this idea. After all, it should be about the same, right? Roar. Yagumon let out an ear-splitting roar, jumped up, stepped on the head of a pirate, smashed its paw, and then used its strength in midair to go straight to another pirate and go. Every now and then a small flame will be fired. On the other hand, Newgate jumped up and came straight to Silver Axe, holding Kong Yunchi, sharp eyes, and said ferociously, Silver Axe. You bastard, are you here to trouble Lousy? Ah. Asshole. There was also a terrifying light in Silver Axe's eyes. Just kidding, even if Lousy is not your opponent, he is not such a piece of trash that you wantonly bullied. Do you look down on Lousy? Clenching the giant axe in his hand, Silver Axe also let out a terrifying roar, raised the silver giant axe in his hand, wrapped around armament hockey, and also met Newgate's offensive from bottom to top. Wave. The weapons in the hands of the two collided together. One was one of the 12 great swords, and although it was not among the famous swords, it was a huge axe that was no less than the sword. It was named Yinhun. The weapons of the two didn't even collide, and there was a violent collision at a distance of about 2 meters. Stab it! Stab it! Seeing the jet-black lightning burst, the surrounding sea seemed to be divided into pieces. Locke calmly ate a piece of pastry, and said casually, sure enough. Silver Axe has also mastered the technique of Conqueror's Winding. Well, it's not surprising. As a cadre of the Locke's pirates, there is no Conqueror's Hockey, no Conqueror's Entanglement. That's unrealistic. Among the 6 cadres of the Locke's pirates, which one is not the one who owns a very strong Conqueror's Hockey? If anyone has not mastered the skills of Conqueror's Winding, then guess. It has already been replaced and overturned. Only, how do you say that? Conqueror's Hockey is entangled, but there is also a gap. After a short stalemate, Newgate and Silver Axe separated directly, the next moment. What unfolded was an overwhelming battle. The fierce battle between the two became more and more terrifying. The fierce battle made that pirate ship seem to be in tatters. Roar. Locke, who was wearing sunglasses to watch the excitement, suddenly heard the roar of the Yagu beast. He was no longer so immature, but appeared to be very mature. He observed it through his own authority, nodded and said, not bad. In general, it feels like it should be able to evolve, right? As predicted, just after Locke's words fell, Agumon had already eliminated all the hundreds of pirates. Next moment, roar. With a deafening roar, the pure white light once again covered the Yagumon. That is the light of evolution. Soon, the light faded away, and an orange dinosaur with a height of about 3.5 meters emerged. Maturity. Tyrannosaurus. Roar. The Tyrannosaurus roared upwards and landed on the deck. Locke looked at the Tyrannosaurus, nodded and said, about 100 Locke's pirates can level up to maturity. I feel that evolution is not so difficult, but I don't know how to evolve from maturity to full maturity. Body. Ultimate body. How much experience is needed for this? Well, it's not a big problem, just take your time. If it doesn't work, let your big brother be disabled by monsters, and let the Digimon under your hands make up for it. But, it's a pity. The one I cultivated looks like an ordinary Tyrannosaurus at first glance. There is really no way to become a war god Tyrannosaurus. Locke leaned on the recliner, looked at the Tyrannosaurus, and made a shameless speech that was unsatisfactory. Chapter 7. What is Silver Axe here for? It is estimated to be a gift. Advertise here. Bump, bump. While the Tyrannosaurus was evolving, on the other side of the battlefield, my cousin was more terrifying than a knife, and directly chopped Silver Axe until there was only room for parry. Humph. Silver Axe's face turned red, and his expression can be said to be extremely ugly, or in other words. I never thought it would be like this. Gu la la la. With this heroic and even arrogant laughter, Newgate Hockey said in full, Silver Axe. Is that all you guys have? Take lousy seriously. Hey, if you are so weak, lousy, but it would be very boring. Hateful. Whitebeard. Silver Axe let out an angry roar, while Locke was drinking beer and eating snacks while observing the battlefield, thinking in his mind. A normal ultimate body, my cousin, and Silver Axe, how big is the gap between such strong people? Locke was thinking. Anyway, the final conclusion is that the gap between ordinary ultimate bodies is really not that big, Uncle Ow. Miss F.A. Jess. Except for such Digimon. Each of them is a Digimon-like bug, what else? Monarch Beast. Night Lord Beast. Duke Beast. Sleep Beast. Aroma Beast. Magna Beast. Including the Skull Beast. All in all, the situation of these 7 royal knights is different. They are not considered powerful, their special form may be powerful enough, but facing the real admiral-level powerhouse, it is not necessarily a real sure chance of winning. In terms of destructive power alone, it seems to be almost enough. Well, it's not a big problem. Locke was very contented, and said very casually and leisurely, it's not a big deal anyway, even if there are 13 royal knights, so what if there are only 13 admirals? Just kidding. From now on, labor and capital will be followed by 13 admirals, who dares to provoke me? Locke is what comes and goes. How to say? Locke in the previous life was a real social animal, but in this brand new world, Locke really doesn't want to work hard anymore. Isn't it good to just goof around? I have to live and die every day. How tiring. So, Locke is a bad show. It should not be called a bad show, but a salted fish. It's almost the same name. Kong Yunchi Air Shock Slash. Silver Destruction. Just then, Armament Hockey covers, Conqueror's wraps, and more. The astonishing shock fruits attachment. Under this terrifying force, Silver Axe was directly knocked out, and the whole person flew upside down and fell into the sea water. Cough cough cough. Silver Axe crashed into the sea, kicked up a huge wave, spewed blood, and he finally took a hard look at the brothers Locke and Newgate. Turn around. Silver Axe dived directly into the deep sea, and then disappeared without a trace. Ask questions. When it is not an opponent, how to escape? Obviously. This is the best way to escape, by diving into the sea, especially for those with fruit abilities. This is almost 100 trials, after all. Those with fruit ability cannot go into the sea, otherwise, they will be lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Silver Axe escaped just like that, and Newgate didn't continue to pursue him. He wanted to chase him to death when the other party wanted to escape, but he was a fruit ability user. That is almost impossible. Wrong. That is absolutely impossible. Don't doubt it, just see that Rayleigh can swim across the calm belt, and you will know how amazing the strength of such a strong man is. Elder brother. The battle is over. Locke saw that the battle was over, then he stood up unsteadily, and said casually, it looks really good, Silver Axe, I don't know what the hell he's here for. Newgate turned his head, stood on the deck of Silver Axe, and said, stop talking so much nonsense, come quickly. Find a way to move the treasure, and when the time comes, destroy this ship, and we should go. Coming. Locke lazily walked towards Silver Axe's pirate ship, jumped up and landed directly on the deck. Brother Edward, it's like bandits broke into the village. Those who searched for it were clean. Elder brother, is this thing the eternal pointer to the grave of the ship? Locke casually threw a treasure chest aside. These treasures were all brought out from the Valley of the Gods by Silver Axe, and they haven't had time to digest them yet. The result. I don't know what this guy is thinking, and he brought someone to make trouble for no reason. Result. Of course. These treasures belong to Brother Edward. Newgate took the eternity pointer thrown by Locke, looked at it, and said, that's right. This eternity pointer is the eternity pointer to the ship's grave. Did you bring all the other treasures? Locke gave an okay gesture, lay down on the deck chair again, basked in the sun, and said lazily, brother, everything has been dealt with. Silver Axe, this guy didn't open the treasure at all, I guess. From God Jagu left and ran directly to our brothers. That's fine. Newgate controlled the pirate ship and headed towards the next supply point, then sat down next to the deck chair, picked up the beer on the ground, and drank it in big gulps. What? Not fun. Not fun. This beer is like water, it's really unpleasant to drink. Newgate looked at the cold beer full of disdain, and Locke complained. Then you don't drink it, drink my beer, and say my beer is not good. Gu la la la. Newgate laughed casually, wiped his mouth at the same time, and said with a smile, speaking of which. What's interesting is, you said Silver Axe, what exactly is he here for? Locke lazily said. If nothing else happens, this guy is here to give money. Chapter 8. Died again, overreaching, Silver Axe with severed arms. Super flame. Roar. A huge fireball burst out directly, and the fish in front of him was cooked instantly. And, I don't know if it's because of habit, but the operation of Tyrannosaurus is very good. The fish is charred on the outside and tender on the inside. Locke hummed very leisurely while sprinkled salt on it, tore off a piece, squinted his eyes, and savored the delicacy. How do you say that? Noble ingredients only need the simplest cooking method. Tyrannosaurus. Locke gave a thumbs up approvingly. Pretty good job. Roar. The Tyrannosaurus let out a roar, then came over and said, Master Locke, can we eat? Locke took out a kitchen knife, cut 2/3 of the huge grilled fish, and gave it to the Tyrannosaurus, saying, Tyrannosaurus, these are yours, eat slowly. Eat it. Really, if you eat like this again, you will get fat. Before Locke could finish his sentence, the Tyrannosaurus jumped on him. It couldn't hold it anymore, it was so greedy that it was drooling. Really? Locke looked at the gorging Tyrannosaurus, and shook his head helplessly. Looking at it for only 10 days, the Tyrannosaurus felt like he had gained a lot of weight. The tendons on his body were like iron towers, but now, it feels like it's covered in a circle of fat. Locke looked at the Tyrannosaurus, and said lightly, Tyrannosaurus, from today onwards, you train me, and see how fat you have become. Woo woo woo. Tyrannosaurus, a huge dinosaur, couldn't let out any screams, and complained, Lord Locke, don't say such unappetizing words while eating. Locke waved his hand and said, train me honestly. Oh. The Tyrannosaurus lowered its head silently, and then, turning grief and anger into appetite, it swallowed the barbecue in front of it. Locke also shook his head. After a few days of research, he understood that although Tyrannosaurus is a Digimon, the core is still a Digimon. As long as the Digicore is not destroyed, it will not be killed. And, Tyrannosaurus can gain experience points as they defeat their opponents, and if they have enough experience, they can evolve. Besides, Tyrannosaurs are actually almost the same as normal creatures, in other words. It's probably a combination of biology plus data, otherwise, those who don't eat will gain weight. Gu la la la. Newgate walked over from the side, and said with a big grin, Locke, are you bullying Tyrannosaurus again? Locke waved his hand and said, what bullies are you bullying? Brother, look, what does the Tyrannosaurus look like with all their fat? Quote. If the Tyrannosaurus doesn't talk to it, it just cooks silently. It's better not to talk to it, otherwise it's not a good thing. Newgate came over, put down the huge barrel of wine, and said, with 3 days' voyage, we will be able to reach the next island. At that time, we still need to replenish, otherwise, the fresh water, fruits, food, wine, etc. are running out. Supplies. For pirates sailing on the sea, it is absolutely the most important, especially fresh water, fruits, these are particularly important. Don't look at the strength of these pirates, each of them is very powerful, but if vitamins are not supplemented for a long time, problems will also occur. Locke nodded, drank the beer in his hand, sat down cross-legged, and said, of course there is no problem, but brother, should we research a large refrigerator? Or find someone to build a large ice cellar? Quote. Newgate rubbed his chin, thinking, actually, it shouldn't be necessary, right? This pirate ship is too much, besides, we are pirates. As pirates, if we don't land on every island and take a stroll, then what kind of pirates are we? That's true. Think of it as tourism. Look. Is there nothing wrong with what I said? It really is. The two brothers were chatting with each other. In New World. In addition to the record pointers to the final island owned by Luffy and others, there are probably 2 types. Permanent pointer. Record pointer. Needless to say, the permanent pointer points to an island, after all. In the special seas of the New World, all your charts and maps are useless. And the record pointer, after an island has collected enough magnetic force, will point to the next island. For example, the record pointer held by Newgate was purchased at a high price, and it can point to 7 islands at the same time, and this island, depending on the magnetic force, the vibration amplitude will also be different. In other words, the greater the magnitude of the vibration, the greater the danger. Probably such a concept. Basically there are no mistakes. Anyway, Locke suddenly thought of something, and said interestingly, brother, have you read the news? This guy, Silver Axe, met Baloric on the way to escape, and it turned out. Overwhelmed, he went to find Barlow Rick's trouble, the whole person's left arm was cut off directly. Look. Newgate also nodded, and complained. This guy is like an idiot, Baloric Redfield, even Lousy has to consider that guy's strength. If it is a protracted battle, Lousy probably none of them are his opponents. Locke was taken aback, although he said that he knew that Baloric was very strong. After all, in the original book, it was claimed that the 3 legendary pirates, the Luogia pirates, the Flying Sky pirates, and the Whitebeard pirates, were all on their own. One of the strength of any one of the pirate groups. Only, Locke asked strangely. Is Beloric so strong? Newgate nodded and said, yes. Beloric has a problem with his body. His physical strength is almost 3 times or even 4 times that of Lousy. Do you know how outrageous this is? Moved. As it turns out, Silver Axe is dead again. Chapter 9. Sword Island. My elder brother misrecognized his son started to attack. Advertise here. Suicide. Overreaching. Cut off an arm. Locke didn't even know what to say. The 6 cadres of the Locke's pirates each have their own characteristics. Golden Lion Shaki, this majestic big pirate, always likes to dance with you, and always be able to do everything that looks very heroic, but is actually extremely cerebral palsy, such as the Sea Battle of Wall, such as Garp and Sengoku in the Marineford Tough Garp and Sengoku. Is this something that TM people can do? As long as you have a longer brain, you can't do such a thing. Big Mom. Charlotte Linlin, needless to say, this crazy woman has a lot of problems, as long as she loses her memory, then. Just an innocent little girl with a memory, a crazy old silver coin. So, according to Locke's previous explanation, the doubt in his eyes, the soul dominated by this woman's body is the nun's. When she lost her memory, it was Linlin's real memory, of course. These are just ideas. As for Akoku, John, Silver Axe, these 3 people. One likes to play with brains, one brutally kills, and one has no brains. As for who has no brains, he, I know, but I don't say it. As for my cousin, Locke is too lazy to say anything, he is purely a fool, looks mighty and powerful, in fact. Just one who is always capable of doing some really stupid things. In general, in summary, the cadres of the Locke's pirates are a gathering place for a group of people with brain problems. Locke didn't think much more, just pondered for a while, and said, brother, but seriously, it's really strange that this guy, Silver Axe, hasn't died after so many years. Newgate explained very calmly. After all, Silver Axe is one of the cadres of the Locke's pirates. If he was killed so easily, then Captain Locke's is very shameful. All right, Locke smacked his lips and said, the relationship survives because there is a big brother behind it. That said, it's actually pretty much the same. It's time for a nap. Locke, what? Be sure to work harder next time. Before his elder brother could speak, Locke knew what Newgate was going to say, and just slipped away to take a nap. Joke. It's noon, I've eaten and drank enough, of course I've had a good night's sleep, why don't I go to exercise? Stop it. I am very clear about my position, I am a summoner. The Tyrannosaur really needs to work hard, and the tendon meat has turned into fat. Ah chew. The Tyrannosaurus, which was eating meat, raised its head, tilted its head strangely, and muttered secretly, am I a cold? It shouldn't be. Never mind, eat. Sword Island. This is an island located in New World. This island is rich in a kind of ore. The sword made of this ore is more than 5 times harder than normal swords. Therefore, after decades of war, Sword Island has gradually formed a delicate balance. A large number of artisans gather here, and they use the ore here to create a variety of famous knives and sharp blades. Naturally, when an island with such special and abundant materials, after the war ceases, a large number of people will gather here, thus forming a trading island. Sword Island. This is how it was formed, and it became a unique New World weapon trading island, a gathering of 3 religions, pirates, marines, superpowers, underground emperors. It can be said, all major forces are gathered here, but they maintain an extremely delicate, even strange balance. Today, a pirate ship is gradually docking. After paying the berth at the port, no one cares whose pirate ship you are. Sword Island. It's here. Replenish supplies here. Actually, should we recruit a group of people? Forget it. The guys recruited are also unreliable. Indeed, Locke and Newgate, the 2 brothers are doing a lot of research. They are all thinking about it. In the end, the result is, what to do, first replenish the supplies, and think about the later things. Tyrannosaurus. Keep an eye on the boat. Lord Locke. Don't worry. Tyrannosaurus opens its mouth and spits out a flame, which means everything is fine. In terms of strength, a mature Tyrannosaurus is at the level of a general in naval headquarters. How to say? Digimon's floating strength gap is really too big, not to mention, Lord Knight and Omegamon are both ultimate bodies, you can see how big their strength gap is. So, the situation of Digimon is quite special. A powerful Digimon can be called invincible. It seems that it is easy to destroy the world, but a weak Digimon. Many ultimate bodies, a little weaker, can even be cute. This is good, put it on for me. This. And that. Put them all together. Locke was also not polite at all. He walked all the way with money and bought a lot of things, most of which were food and drink here and there. As for these things, rest assured, these will be sent directly to the pirate ship. As merchants, they are still very reputable. At the very least, if they do business here, if they don't even have a reputation, then they will really have no money to make in the future. That brat is. As Locke was walking, he saw a kid kneeling in front of his cousin, with snot and tears, crying and calling daddy. Ah, the corner of Locke's mouth twitched, and he secretly complained. My brother's disease of false recognition of his son has already begun. Chapter 10. Infant Vista, subdue. Edward Whitebeard be my son Newgate. Joke. Doesn't anyone know about this famous name? Want to be my husband. Want to be my son. Want to be my subordinate. Do you want to save me? All the famous sayings of the four emperors are resounding, especially the one from my brother, do you want to be my son? Seriously, Locke wasn't sure if his older brother had a special charisma, anyway. In my opinion, if my elder brother was not hammered to death, it must be because my elder brother is definitely strong enough. Elder brother, what are you doing here? Locke walked over quickly. Although he looked small, he was carrying a wooden sword on his back. The gentleman's clothes on his body were obviously washed to white, but they looked very clean. He had long, naturally curly hair. Hair combed into a ponytail behind the head. Locke looked at the little guy and said in his heart, oh. Isn't this the childhood Vista? I see. Vista's birthplace is Sword Island. Foil Vista. In the original book, the captain of the 5th team of the Whitebeard Pirates is also very old in terms of qualifications. In the original story, he was a member of the Whitebeard Pirates 30 years ago. And, whether it was against Mahawk, the world's #1 swordsman, or after the Summit War, Vistana was in a state of ease. In fact, it can be seen that Vista's strength is definitely a real swordsman. Maybe he can't be called the world's #1 swordsman, but he is probably the top 10 or even the top 5 in the world. Not a big problem. Locke, have a look, have a look. This is Lousy's son. Gu la la la. Newgate saw his cousin approaching, and directly pulled Locke in front of him with one hand, and looked at the little guy kneeling on the ground, full of heroic laughter. Happy. Joy. Locke could hear it. Just. The shoulder was very painful. Brother. Stop. Very painful. Locke directly avoided Newgate's slapping, rubbed his shoulders, and complained. I can feel that you are very happy, but. Can you pay attention a little bit? You almost broke my shoulder. Newgate also gradually restrained his smile, and complained. Isn't it because you are not in good health? You need to exercise well so that you can improve your strength. Locke waved his hand and said, sorry. I'm not interested. Compared with those, I'm more interested in bad performances. I think that's really good. Cut. Newgate also twitched the corner of his mouth. He really didn't know what to say to his cousin who likes to touch fish every day, which is equivalent to salted fish. But, for the Edward brothers, this was a daily bickering. Newgate turned around, pointed at the little guy, and introduced directly, Locke, this kid is Lousy's son. Vista, this is Lousy's younger brother. Uncle. Upon hearing this, Vista immediately kowtowed to Locke without hesitation. Bump. Locke clearly felt that the ground seemed to tremble. More or less, is it not necessary? Uncle, my name is Vista. Please take care of me in the future. Vista obediently gave Locke 2 kowtows again, totaling 3 kowtows. With that obedient appearance, people couldn't help feeling that this kid was too honest. Okay. Get up quickly. Locke quickly waved his hands and said, I'll smash my head in a while. You are my brother's son, and I will be my nephew in the future. We are all one family. There are so many messy things. Okay, uncle. Vista stood up, a little wobbly, kowtowing more or less a headache, a dazed, wobbly look. Looking at this picture, Locke couldn't help but chuckled and shook his head. Vista at this time was really interesting, and he was obviously not very old, but it turned out. Forcibly pretending to be an adult, or a gentleman. Actually, if calculated according to time, the current Vista is at most 9 years old, and he is really a kid. Let's go. Locke looked at Newgate, who was standing aside, looking at all this with a smile, and said helplessly, you accept Vista as an adopted son, can you be more serious? Brother, hurry up, go to Vista buy some clothes. What? Newgate also reflected it, and scratched his head carelessly, as if he had reflected it again. Now that he is a father, he should maintain his majesty. Locke shook his head silently, his brother is indeed a fool, but. There are children of the younger generation here, so I better not expose it. Locke looked at Vista and said, let's go, Vista, I just went to buy some clothes, and. What kind of weapon do you like to use? Knife. Vista seriously pulled out the wooden sword at his waist, and said firmly, Father, uncle, I will definitely work hard to practice swordsmanship. Only in this way, in the future, I will be able to protect you. Gu la la la. Lousy is. To shut up. Listening to Vista's words, Newgate is of course very happy, just about to make some bold statement, Locke just pushed Newgate aside, and his smile stopped abruptly. Locke glared at Newgate, shut up you. In the original book, if it weren't for your doting, based on the talents of the Whitebeard pirates and the situation of Summit War, would you have lost so badly? Locke looked at Vista, smiled and said, Vista, then. Next, you have to work harder. Uncle's safety depends on you. Locke patted Vista on the shoulder firmly. This moment. Vista blushed with excitement and was recognized. Approved. You must work harder. Chapter 11. Now, the left behind tyrannosaurs are all crazy. Advertise here. Locke smiled very satisfied. Joke. As a small employee in my previous life, what kind of wolf culture, what kind of incentive behavior, what kind of brainwashing operation, what kind of collective glory. Anyway, apart from these things that can make the boss more and more rich and his own health worse and worse, I have learned a lot, and I can use it in my whole life, so that my eldest nephew can work hard to grow up. It's better to make yourself bad. Brothers Locke and Newgate took Vista to buy some clothes. Moreover, Vista is good at swordsmanship, so they bought a good famous sword in Sword Island. Money. The two brothers are really rich. Worth to talk about. In the original book, most of Newgate's wealth is used to support the Sphinx. Because of this, after distributing a lot of wealth to the little guys under him, he really doesn't have much money, even drinking they all want to rub against their sons. Now what? This year, about 4 months ago, a group of pirates discovered the Sphinx and ransacked the Sphinx crazily. Basically, more than 90% of the people in the Sphinx died for nothing. However, the remaining people add up to less than 30 or 50 people. Even say, these 30 to 50 people are still because Newgate went back to his hometown to find his cousin Locke, otherwise. Basically all died. Those people were arranged by Newgate in another place, an arranged country, and Newgate took Locke to sea, and the Sphinx stayed there forever like this, a beautiful island. Naturally, Newgate is no money pressure. Only. Walking, Locke and Newgate raised their heads at the same time, and the two brothers looked at the port at the same time, but then withdrew their gazes and continued to walk around with Vista. What a hassle. Are these guys brainless? Locke couldn't help complaining. They don't think we're shopping, so they can be invisible, right? Locke didn't know what to say. Even his half-assed observation hockey could easily cover almost half of the island. As for Newgate, joke. Seeing that Rayleigh can clearly see everything on the island where Luffy is practicing at that moment, he knows that for a strong person, being able to see an island is not something that can be done with eyes closed. So, these guys simply don't have brains. Or, there's something wrong with their brains. Gone. It's not a big problem. Newgate compared the strength of Tyrannosaurus and the opponent, and also said that the problem is not big. At this time, Brother Edward and Vista were strolling around, but the Tyrannosaurus who stayed behind on the pirate ship had already started to kill madly, and his whole body was stained with blood. Roar. The Tyrannosaurus roared deafeningly, drops of blood dripped from its body, and the aura of the whole person looked extremely terrifying, just like a tyrannical ancient Tyrannosaurus. Stab it. The sharp claws directly tore the pirate in front of him. At the same time, the huge tail swept away, and a large number of pirates were swept away directly. Don't think that it was just being swept away. The amazing power even killed people in an instant. Fear. This strand of power is too terrifying. The Tyrannosaurus is completely like killing a god, and a large number of pirates know it well, as long as they kill the dinosaur in front of them. So, you can land on this pirate ship, and then Whitebeard's treasure will be yours. Only, they just couldn't go any further, they could only be forced to stop here. Damn it, it's just too annoying. I'm not reconciled. Yes, the eyes of every pirate are full of resentment, there are thousands of people gathered here, Of course, this was the very beginning, and now there are less than 300 people left, the rest. It has been killed by Tyrannosaurus. Mainly what? At the very beginning, they didn't pay attention to the Tyrannosaurus. When the Tyrannosaurus opened its mouth and fired a super flame, it directly sprayed 300 people to death, that's it. The powerful fireball exploded among the crowd, and the power generated at that moment is estimated. I am not an idiot, but I know how terrifying it is. Roll. Tyrannosaurus roared ferociously, and said, no one is allowed to land on this pirate ship until Lord Locke comes back. And, following the low roar of the Tyrannosaur, the injury on his body was originally very slight, or even nothing, but at this moment, it was recovering rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. The current Tyrannosaurus is a combination of data plus creatures, and it is natural. The advantage is that as long as the Digicore is not destroyed, it will not die, regardless of any injuries, then. All will be repaired quickly under the action of the digital core. Damn it, what kind of ancient fruit ability user is this? Do not know. But, this guy, is he already awakened? Ghost knows. This recovery power, Lousy has never seen an ancient ability user, it is not so terrifying. Damn it, all the guys, at this moment, feel that they have a very headache, it is too much a headache. What is this? No kidding. It's like a joke, you just recovered from the injury you caused so hard. MMs. You make us very desperate. An awakened ancient ability user. Depend on. So, is this battle over? Is it about to end? This moment. These pirates are desperate, but the Tyrannosaurus just guarded the pirate ship quietly, and had no intention of actively attacking at all, and understood its responsibilities very well. Chapter 12. The ship's grave. These guys are a cult. Advertise here. Wait until the three of them come back. Blood flowed like a river. Thousands of pirates were all killed by Tyrannosaurus, and from the outside, Tyrannosaurus basically didn't have any major injuries. It looks like Lousy is very good and Lousy can still fight. Locke said with a smile. Gyronosaurus did a good job. Lord Locke. Roar. Greymon's big eyes looked at Locke happily. He. Looking at this picture, Locke chuckled and said, no problem, I'll give you an extra meal today. Roar. The Tyrannosaurus roared excitedly in an instant. For a foodie Tyrannosaurus, everything else is false, and being able to eat is the most important thing. Locke chuckled and shook his head. This Tyrannosaurus in his family, no matter how you look at it, he thinks it is a naive foodie. But, thinking that my Tyrannosaurus always competes with my cousin for wine, perhaps, Han is also contagious, which is quite possible. Wow, after all, Vista is just a little guy. Although he was born in New World, after all, he has lived in Sword Island since he was a child, and he has never seen such an existence as Tyrannosaurus. Locke is also very lazy, let his elder brother introduce him. Joke. After walking around and buying so much food, if I don't take a good rest for a while, I will be sorry for myself. What? Locke lay on the recliner, stretched comfortably, and said lazily, brother, don't call me for dinner, I'll sleep. Casual. Newgate can't be bothered with Locke, can't be bothered with him. I'm used to it, so it's not surprising what happened to this brat in my family. Not surprisingly, what if you were really angry with him? He. Then I guess I can piss myself off, so I don't need to say anything. Soon, Locke just fell into a deep sleep. Night fell. By the time Locke woke up, it was completely dark, and the pirate ship has left Sword Island and is heading straight for the grave of the sea, after all. Sword Island was supposed to replenish supplies, and the addition of this little guy, Vista, was purely unexpected. Now that the supplies have been replenished, and a nephew has been taken in, it must be time to set sail for the Tomb of the Sea. For pirates, what is most important? Companion. Gold and silver. Strength. Do not. The pirate ship is the most important thing. For pirates, the pirate ship is their own face. No matter how powerful you are at any time, if you don't have a pirate ship of your own, it's embarrassing. People just look down on you. Looking at Captain Jack's pursuit of the Black Pearl, in fact, we can see how important the pirate ship is to the pirates. Where is this? Locke stretched comfortably, took out the beer that was chilled in the ice bucket and drank it down in one gulp, and the originally dazed self came back to life, and the whole person was refreshed. Second uncle. Do not. Vista ran over, and upon hearing this, Locke raised his head and said, you should call me uncle, second uncle, that doesn't sound like a good word. Joke. The second uncle is bleeding every day, don't you know that? Oh, it is good. Vista scratched his head, and then said, Uncle, Dad said, we have already set sail for the grave of the ship. Tell me, uncle, if you wake up, go prepare the food yourself. Locke nodded, lazily said, I see, that's right. Vista, why haven't you rested yet? While talking, Locke sleeps with Rua lying beside him, looking like a Tyrannosaurus who was drinking with his brother and getting drunk again. Vista said seriously, Uncle, I'm exercising, only. Crap. Locke directly interrupted Vista's words, and said very seriously, Vista, pay attention. Hard work is a good thing, but the rest and supplementary nutrition must be guaranteed, otherwise if so, will you grow? Your body is growing, you must rest and combine work and rest, otherwise your body will have problems instead. Oh. Vista listened to Locke's words and nodded seriously. This is the first time someone told him what to do. All along, Vista has been desperately trying to improve himself, but instead, the improvement in strength does not seem to be so obvious. Locke sent Vista to bed and got up to go to the kitchen to get something to eat. Be honest, the physical fitness of people in this world is indeed even more terrifying, but no matter how terrifying your physical fitness is, to put it bluntly, you are also a human being. As long as you are an individual, you must follow the laws of the standard. Otherwise, are you not human? So, rest when it's time to rest, exercise when it's time to exercise, you can work hard, but you can't risk your life. The result of that is that the body seems to be improved in a short period of time, but in fact, in the long run, there will only be huge problems. In order to be better for myself, these little guys in my family must grow up well. After warning Vista, the following days will be very simple. Some people are bad, some are drinking, some are exercising. The days are also very full. After 14 days, a total of 2 weeks, and the group also crossed the chaotic route through the permanent pointer, and walked through special currents, finally stopped in a dark sea. Ship grave. How should I put it? The route here is very special. Ships that lose their crews on the sea and drift with the current will come to this sea area in all likelihood. Over time, this place becomes the grave of the ship. Finally, a large group of shipwrights gathered here, and these guys, generally wearing black robes and smiling masks, had problems with their heads. In Locke's words, aren't these guys cultists? No matter how you look at it, you are not a normal person. Chapter 13. The particularity of the three-eyed people, they really have problems with their heads. He. As the pirate ships flooded into the special sea area of the ship's grave, it was unknown where they came from. Immediately there was a burst of weird laughter. Oh. Let us see. Isn't this Whitebeard? It seems. The Locke's pirates have also come to an end. He he he. Along with the strange laughter, all of them were hidden under the black robes, and the figures with strange white smiley masks came out. There were so many people. Locke looked around. There were almost 1,000 people. People. Quote. After being silent for a moment, Locke couldn't help complaining. Brother, these guys, is there something wrong with them here? Locke pointed to his head, and always felt that these people had problems with their heads. Newgate pondered for a moment, and said, I don't know, but these people in the ship's grave have always been like this. Locke curled his lips, looking at it according to himself. These guys are definitely out of their heads. Otherwise, these guys just built a cult, they are definitely real cult members. He. Whitebeard, do you want to join our grave sect? Have a look. Listening to this very straightforward means of pulling people, Locke said, did you see it? Labor and management really guessed right, these guys really have a problem, all of them are heretics, there is definitely a real problem. Locke rolled his eyes, and said secretly, to be honest, if it weren't for the high level of these people, I still wouldn't be able to discuss anything with them. Locke, don't underestimate these guys. The leader among them has a very special ability. You can see the other parties shipping in the captain. This way, you can build the most suitable pirate ship for you. Newgate explained to Locke in a low voice. Quote. Locke was taken aback when he heard that. Good guy. Are you taking off completely? It's really a cult. At this time, one looks even older, though. That is to say, because he arched his back and leaned on crutches, otherwise, these guys, each with a wide black cloak and a white smiling mask, would be strange if they could be seen. Cough. Accompanied by an old cough, he said in a very weak voice, Whitebeard, I never thought that we would meet again. Newgate looked at the old man, and said with sharp eyes, Ship spirit. I came to look for you, and wanted to build a ship that belongs to me. It belongs to us and belongs to my family. Vessel. The old man named Ship Spirit looked at Newgate quietly, as if he had fallen into a kind of silence. Those who didn't know thought he was asleep. Quote. Just when the atmosphere became silent, and at this very moment. Click. Suddenly, there was a crack in the mask on Chuan Ling's face. Immediately afterwards, his aura became different, his aura became weaker, and a stream of blood dripped out along the mask. F***K. Locke couldn't help but swear, what the hell? You just looked at it, and you actually showed yourself bleeding. Old man, are you touching porcelain? Master. All the believers around were excited to jump up, and they pulled out the steel knife from under the cloak very skillfully, looking like they were desperate. Seriously, looking at this scene, Locke really couldn't help the corners of his mouth twitching. What is this all about? Are you guys really out of your mind? Cough. The boat spirit coughed weakly, and then said softly, the old man is fine, it's just. The old man never thought, Whitebeard, your future will look like this. Peeping into the future, Locke looked at this old man called Schwanling strangely. The ship spirit took off his cracked mask, and said calmly, the old man is a three-eyed family, and the old man's eyes can see some things that other people can't see. For example, the spirit of the ship on everyone's body. And, the ship spirit looked deeply at Newgate, and said seriously, the old man saw that majestic and huge country like an island in Whitebeard. It is not a country, but a family. He. Chuan Ling smiled lightly and said emotionally, Whitebeard, it seems that the family you have been looking for since you went to sea has been found. A smile emerged from the corner of Newgate's mouth. Yes. My family has been gradually found. There is nothing wrong with this. I found my cousin. I have my first son. No matter what. I have found my family, and I will start a family, and what I lost since I was a child, I will get back step by step. Of course. Does Locke really care about these things? What he thinks more is that the three-eyed people have such a special ability. Locke muttered secretly. The ability of the three-eyed tribe is quite complicated. This one called the ship spirit can see the shipping on everyone, and Pudding, the daughter raised by that crazy woman of Linlin, is said to have awakened the three-eyed tribe. After the ability, you can understand the text of history. Locke thought in his heart, and said, it seems that the awakened abilities of the three-eyed people should be different. After thinking about it for myself, this possibility is actually quite high. But, at this time, the ship spirit showed a crazy look, and said excitedly, Old man, Whitebeard, even if I don't need money, I will build you this pirate ship, this ship. Perhaps it will be the greatest and most likely hope of success in this old man's life. The ship spirit's eyes were filled with excitement. This scene made Locke feel even more, this guy. Definitely a brain problem. Chapter 14. A crazy bunch of crazies. Generous. Use the Sphinx Island to build a pirate ship. Advertise here. Quote. In the silence, Locke sort of understood. These guys are a bunch of lunatics. Should say. They are like a group of fanatics. Although they are shipwrights, they do not possess the spirit of craftsmanship. On the contrary, they are like believers in those cults. They want to let their gods descend. Their idea is that I want to follow the leader to make the most gorgeous and the most powerful ship in the world. This is their idea. So, Locke looked at the ship spirit, and after a little silence, said, do you have any substantive ideas? Have. The ship spirit was extremely excited, even extremely excited. I don't need any money. I don't need any money. This is the first time that this old man is on Whitebeard's body. I haven't seen it even on Locke's body before. Terrible shipping, as long as the old man's plan is correct. Gudong. The ship spirit even swallowed his saliva excitedly, and said excitedly, the pirate ship I built for you will have a ship spirit from the very beginning. What? The legendary ship, a ship of spirits. Ha ha ha, my god, I haven't lived my whole life in vain. Is it really possible? Awesome. All the shipwrights seemed to be crazy, some beat their feet in chests, and some roared to the sky. They were like madmen one by one. Obviously, there were more or less problems with the state of these guys. Locke fell silent, not knowing what to say. There was just something wrong with these guys, they were a bunch of crazy lunatics. These guys are for boat building. Cultists are meant to summon evil gods. If you deduct the process, purpose, result, etc., you will find that these guys are just a dime of TM. Locke shook his head silently, and said secretly, these guys have problems with their brains. It's better for Lousy not to get involved with these guys. Farewell. The situation of these guys is not normal. Locke took a step back without leaving a trace, and happened to bump into Vista, turned his head, looked at Vista standing there, motionless, and asked strangely, Vista, what's wrong with you? Vista raised his little head, sweating profusely, and said with a pale face, stiffly, Uncle, they are like a group of lunatics, and scared. Locke raised his eyebrows. Vista didn't lie. He nodded obediently. After all, he was just a child. It's not surprising that he was afraid, although Vista was an orphan, but he had never experienced so much in Sword Island since he was a child, a chaotic war, or a war of destruction where life and death are at stake. He. Locke smiled lightly and said, Vista, work harder. You want to become a great swordsman. Be serious. If you are afraid, you can't become a great swordsman. Your goal should not only be a great swordsman, it's the #1 swordsman in the world, remember. Only with the determination to cut off everything that stands in front of you can you be qualified to become the #1 swordsman in the world. Locke continued to brainwash Vista for his own future. Uncle, I see. Locke's voice seemed to have the magic power of bewitching, and although Vista was still full of fear, he still took a step forward and stood beside Newgate, his small body trembling, but as full of firmness. Quote. Newgate naturally heard the conversation between his younger brother and his son, and looked down at Vista, who was still terrified, but who dared to come over. Newgate said secretly, so, there is something wrong with Lousy's thinking. Why is it that Locke, a guy who likes to play badly, is more adaptable to training than me? Obviously Locke did nothing but touch his upper lip to his lower lip. Result. It's very simple. It can only be said that after the brainwashing of those people in modern society, Locke is also amazing in this respect. Correct. Locke turned his head, and suddenly asked, Chuan Ling, you are no longer charged as a shipbuilder, so what else do we brothers need to prepare? This. Locke is also more concerned. This is related to his future home. Actually, Locke just likes to touch fish and play badly, but he is not the kind of deliberately lazy traveler, which makes people feel strange. He is just like a dead house, and he likes to eat, drink and have fun. It's not that I don't participate in anything that is really important. Isn't that sick? One is my brother. Don't say anything else. This life, the two are connected by blood. One is his elder brother's adoptive son, that is, his eldest nephew. And also, this is building a house for your own family, and you don't participate in anything. Isn't that a problem? Locke is not the kind of garbage in novels who are lazy just for the sake of being lazy. I find such a guy the strangest. Could that kind of guy be called a human being? Anyway. Locke thought it was weird. In response to Locke's question, Chuan Ling was taken aback, and then said very seriously, it costs money. It must cost money, although there are a lot of materials in the ship's grave, but there are more very expensive materials, need you to buy, and in addition to spending money, the most important thing is that the main body of this pirate ship must not be made of ordinary materials, but materials that carry the concept of your family. Otherwise, this old man also has no way to create a ship that is born with a ship spirit. If it is not for the ship spirit, there is no way to drive such a special ship. Chuan Ling waved his hand, and it looked like you were about to bleed profusely. And, for the Edward brothers, the only material that has the concept of home is the Sphinx, right? This moment, the two brothers fell into a kind of silence, using islands as materials to build pirate ships. Good guy. Really generous. Chapter 15. Buy a ghost. We are pirates, of course we will grab them. Advertise here. Island. That's right. No problem. The ship spirit listened to what Brother Edward said, studied it, and said very seriously, then build a pirate ship with the island as the core. It's not a big problem. What is this? The old man finally came across such a chance, just right. This old man is right in one step. Quote. Hearing the excited words of Chuan Ling, Locke was thinking. In the original book, what is the largest ship? That must be Moria's thriller bark. Although it is a ship, it is actually a small island, and the Sphinx is about the same size as the thriller bark. To be precise, it is probably bigger. About 1/3 the size. Let's put it this way. To put it simply, in this world, except for the red line, the largest island can probably accommodate tens of millions of people, and it is more than enough, such as Senton Island. For a medium-sized island, accommodating several million people is already the limit. And the thriller bark and the Sphinx are basically small islands, and it would be too much to accommodate hundreds of thousands of people, or even less. The Sphinx was originally quite large. Wars continue, and many places have been bombed. The current Sphinx is probably like a small county town on the 4th and 5th tiers. Although it is not big, it can easily accommodate 3 to 5 million people. That's it. Locke thought for a while, and asked. Ship spirit, according to what you said, if you build a pirate ship with the Sphinx as the core, how can you make an island sail on the sea? What about power? Joke. The boat spirit waved his hand, and said confidently, of course, the old man has considered this point long ago. What the old man wants to build for you is a ship that is born with a ship spirit. Do you know the effect of the ship spirit? Repair damaged ships, steering the ship, and the ship elf can ignore any power and so on. All aspects are to make the ship move. In other words, let alone an island, even the red line, as long as there is a ship elf, it can move directly, and it can be unimpeded in calm belt. Listening to Chuan Ling's confident words, both Locke and Newgate's eyes lit up. Ouch, Locke murmured excitedly in his heart. If this is the case, give it a good renovation, isn't this a moving sea city? Moreover, this is much better than Gulen Tezzolo and Thriller Bark, this is definitely a very good, it is a place for salted fish, and you can also travel around the world to see the scenery. Newgate was also excited and secretly thought, great. Lousy is very satisfied with this, in this case. The Sphinx is Lousy's home, and also the home of all family members. For Newgate, besides his family, the most important thing is the Sphinx, which he regards as his home. What if the two are combined? Ha ha ha, he. Gu la la la. The Edward brothers looked at each other, they all saw the excitement in each other's eyes, and each of them grinned. They looked at Chuan Ling in unison, and said in unison, tell me. How much money is needed for this? What else do you need? Wait. Chuan Ling raised his hand, then took out the paper and pen and began to record. 1 meter, 2 meters, 3 meters, 5 meters. Soon, the smiles of the two brothers gradually became stiff. Looking at the size of this A4 paper, but it recorded a length of nearly 5 meters, Newgate couldn't help but underestimate it. This is even if you sell it, you probably don't have enough money, right? Locke looked at his cousin, and was also muttering in his heart, isn't it too scary how much it takes? Bring it on. Chuan Ling quickly put the required materials in front of the two brothers, rubbed his chin and said, the materials recorded by the old man are probably 1/5 more, but it is always good to have more. If too much, if it is less, it will be a problem instead. Check the gaps and make up for the gaps, and make sure there is no problem. Locke picked it up, and Newgate looked down at the paper as well. East blues sea stone. Boiling tree at west blue. South blue. North blue. Looking over one by one, the smile on Locke's face disappeared completely, and the whole person was numb. Quote. Half an hour. Putting down the drawing, Locke let out a deep breath, and rubbed the center of his brows calmly, but fell into silence in his heart. At this moment, he didn't know what to say, it seemed that he should say something. But, Locke really didn't know what to say. Expensive. He. Locke said that as far as the material on this drawing is concerned, it is not expensive to describe at all. That simply reached an unimaginable level, okay. No kidding. Locke is very clear that if all the materials on this blueprint are obtained, a franchise country can be emptied in an instant. Look at King Liku's request for 10 billion Baileys, which is begging all the people to raise donations. Don't forget, Dressrosa is a country with 20 dignified descendants of the king, so it must be rich. But, even so, 10 billion Baileys would not come out, and if all the materials on this piece of paper were bought, Locke did some calculations, and it would be absolutely impossible without 17 billion Baileys. As for any cheap ones, of course there is, but the problem is, the pirate ship that the Edward brothers are going to build is extremely huge. When the equivalent of ordinary materials is scary enough, it is also very amazing. The corner of Newgate's mouth twitched, and he said, Locke, we don't seem to have that much money in our hands, do we? Locke rolled up the paper directly, turned his head, and said very seriously, brother. We are pirates, remember. You start today, take this paper, follow every item on it, and grab it for me. We are pirates. Pirates. What to buy? Buy a ghost. Chapter 16. This is your job. I'll be fine with a unicorn. Advertise here. Purchase. Buy a ghost. Buy his grandma's legs. Joke. Lousy is a pirate now, you let Lousy buy things properly. Lousy buys vegetables, water, and food. The shipbuilder, Lousy honestly gave money. The doctor and Lousy honestly gave the money. That is because you can't afford to offend these people, otherwise the probability of accidents is very high. But these are the materials, just kidding. Since Lousy is a pirate, why should he give you money? MMs. Lousy is to grab directly, this is the most suitable. Hearing Locke's words, Chuan Ling also agreed. This is true. As a pirate, it is really unnecessary to buy it. It's better to snatch it quickly, and the speed is good. The effect is good. Quote. Newgate was silent when he heard the words of the two, good guy. In this, I am a real pirate, but in the end, did I not understand it? Locke was taken over by himself during this period, not a serious pirate. Chuan Ling is a shipbuilder, not a pirate. Row. Newgate didn't hesitate either. What are you doing with so much nonsense? It's still the same sentence. Since Lousy are all pirates, then just do what a pirate should do honestly. Does it mean that if you are a bitch, you have to set up a Torii? TMs. Isn't that sick? Anyway, Newgate thinks that what he does is what an idiot does, grab it. That's it. Newgate took out the permanent pointer and said, Ship Spirit, are you taking people to the Sphinx, or are you waiting here? Chuan Ling said, the old man will assign some people here to prepare some other materials. These materials are quite special, and the old man will take people to the Sphinx. Such a large project requires blueprints. It is best to hire a great designer. Locke took the permanent pointer and said, let's go. Let's set off together, just start from Golden Island, and hire a qualified designer. What? Newgate watched Locke take over the permanent pointer, was taken aback, and said in astonishment, Locke, brother. You don't intend to let me do this by myself, do you? Locke waved his hand and said, of course not, you go with Tyrannosaurus. Quote. Standing silently at the back, a Tyrannosaurus that I don't know anything about was suddenly attacked, expressing that I was very confused. What the hell? What does this have to do with me? Locke said calmly. Hey, brother, can't you? Of course this is your job, take a look. You are the captain, the Tyrannosaurus is a combatant, and Vista hasn't grown up. As for me, I'm at most a support staff. Have you ever heard of a support staff fighting? Exactly. I recently summoned a new little guy called a unicorn. I'll just take Vista and the unicorn here and make a mess. Cough. It's enough to ensure the safety of the rear. Locke said, I don't know how to fight. Quote. F***K. After a brief silence, Newgate looked at Locke, couldn't help but swear, and said, Locke, are you really shameless when you say that? Locke Shong spread his hands, and said very calmly, anyway, it's not a big deal, besides. My strength is not strong, what do you want me to do? Make trouble. Why don't you take the Tyrannosaurus, just in time? In the process, give the Tyrannosaurus a brush with experience, and the further evolution of the Tyrannosaurus is probably at the level of Vice Admiral, when the time comes. That must be a cadre. Lord Locke. To shut up. Woo. Tyrannosaurus raised its little paw, indicating that it should say something, and it turned out. Locke's sharp knife-like eyes flicked over, and the Tyrannosaurus became honest in an instant, and let out a mournful sound. Quote. Newgate was completely silent, he really didn't know what to say. How to say? There seems to be nothing wrong with Locke's words, it seems. This is all true, however. Newgate always felt that something was not quite right. But what is wrong in the end, I still can't tell. This. Newgate smacked his lips and said, then, put Vista here. The corner of Locke's mouth twitched, Wang Ji squinted his eyes in contempt, and said disdainfully, brother. If you want to talk about your strength, your own strength, there is no doubt. You are definitely the top in the world, and you have not reached your own yet. Peak. Newgate also nodded with a smile when he heard his brother praise him. But, the next moment, Locke changed the subject, but you want to say that you teach people. I'm sorry, you can easily be taught by Vista, but Vista's qualifications are quite good, you should go on the sidelines. Bar. Cut. Newgate curled his lips in displeasure, but, I have to say that as a father, I think more about protecting these little devils in my family, rather than letting these little devils grow up and work hard, the result. It just goes without saying. If you look at the Whitebeard pirates in the original book, Newgate's support is basically abolished. Marco, Ace, Joes, and Vista are all penultimate people. The result. Except for Marco who is really strong, Josie and Vista, none of them are so strong. But, even Marco has problems. How old is Marco? 2 years ago it was 45, and 2 years later it was 47. How old is Admiral of Headquarters Kuzan? 2 years ago it was 47, and 2 years later it was 49. Have a look. Just 2 years old. Look at the devil fruit of the two again. Marco is in the form of bird fruit, phantom beast species, and phoenix. Kuzan is Logia frozen fruit. The qualifications of two people. It can be seen from Marco's progress all the way from Summit War that his qualifications are absolutely top-notch, absolutely amazing qualifications. To be honest, it was Newgate's doting, the result. Let each kid not grow up perfectly, otherwise. Marco's minimum is at least 3 admiral levels of Kuzan's level. As for the others, this can't be determined. Chapter 17. Let's go. Baby Vista, you need to grow. Advertise here. Say 1,000 words and 10,000. It's better for my elder brother not to teach, all the good children let him teach them to be useless. This world, the pure competition is physical fitness, hockey level, and fruit development. To put it more simply, no epiphany is needed, understand. There is no need for those bells and whistles at all, even the way of swordsmanship is extremely simple, that is, the sword that cuts iron, the sword that cuts fire, and the sword that does not cut, it is such a 3-level division. So, plan your workouts, get more practiced, then. Basically, what kind of qualifications should be, then what kind of level should be grown. Instead of being like my elder brother, like Marco, playing steadily and steadily should have been a real admiral level strongman, and he was forced to support him. Locke didn't know what to say. Hey, Newgate looked at Locke's eyes, and immediately said unhappily, Locke, what kind of eyes are you? Locke waved his hand and said, brother, I don't have any other meanings, forget it. Forget it. I will teach the little guys in the future, you. Just like you, it is easy to teach the children to be useless. F***K. Newgate couldn't help but swear again, but there was nothing he could do. How to say, although he is just a little guy like Vista, in this short period of time, it can be seen that Locke cares very little, but no matter it is letting Vista pay attention to rest, the efficiency of strength improvement has been improved. Let Vista look directly at the courage, and make Vista's heart more firm. This is all in a few words. What about yourself? Amount. Newgate compared it, silently gave up, forget it. Never mind. Lousy is a big brother, what is the comparison with his younger brother? No need. Locke shook his head silently, and did not continue to provoke his elder brother, after all. If the stimulation is too much, it will really hit yourself, and it seems that it is not worth it. No need. The two brothers have different ideas, but they have the same words. All right. Newgate nodded and said, Lousy took the Tyrannosaurus to plunder, but this ship is not suitable. It is not an easy task to sail around the world. Talking. Newgate frowned. It is simply unrealistic to take this ship around the world, and the various materials that the ship's spirit needs are only available in the whole world. Chuan Ling said very calmly, the old man has a submarine here, and I am arranging someone to drive the submarine for you. That's all right. That must be fine, Newgate said. As for the transportation problem. Joke. Shipping company. This is the underground emperor of the New World, whose roots run through the 4 seas, the Grand Line, and the New World, and more. Credibility is absolutely guaranteed, and there will never be any problems. People don't care how your goods come from, as long as you give them money, they will definitely deliver them to you safely. As for the people behind the shipping company, I don't know. Anyway, don't underestimate these underground emperors. Their own strength may not be strong, but the power they have mastered is really not weak. Even in the future era of 4 emperors, if Linlin invites them to a banquet, the evaluation given will be unreasonable. It's a big shot. From this point, it can be seen that they are definitely not simple. So, it is definitely not a problem to find a shipping company to deliver the items. Soon, Newgate took the Tyrannosaurus into the submarine, and then left as the submarine sank. The ship Spirit directly boarded Locke's pirate ship with about 300 people. The boat Spirit said calmly, Locke, I'm going with you, first go to Golden Island to recruit a top designer, and then go to Sphinx. Locke has no problem with that. Anyway, you don't need to do anything yourself. Locke doesn't think his own strength is very good. Compared with his big brother, he must be far behind humans and dogs, but how to deal with these shipwrights? It must be pinching. Moreover, Locke's daily life is to continue to perform poorly. Other than that, other jobs are taken over by these shipwrights, whether it's driving a pirate ship, cooking, or all other jobs. Don't say it. Apart from not looking like normal people, these shipwrights are really outstanding in all aspects. This is really not a joke. Uncle, Vista came over, and Locke took off his sunglasses lazily, and said in a daze, what's wrong? Vista scratched his head, and said obediently, Uncle, I always feel that I seem to be stuck in a bottleneck recently. No matter what I do, I can't improve my strength. What? Locke was taken aback for a moment, then looked at Vista, and after thinking for a while, he said very calmly, this is normal, it's not a strange thing. Locke continued to explain, your age is now at a stable time, and it takes time to develop. From about 13 years old, you will enter a stage of rapid strength improvement. Before that, do you want to give up? Don't want. Vista shook his head without hesitation, while Locke smiled and said, not bad. Remember, don't give up, work hard, and the future strength will be improved, otherwise, the foundation is not good, even if it is once you enter that stage, you won't get a huge improvement. Vista knew about his affairs, so he left obediently. Locke lay down and continued to rua the unicorn lying next to him. As for Vista's question, Locke was really not lying about that. People need to develop. No matter how hard Vista works, how old is he? Look at how Zoro was bullied by Kuina when he was young, that's why girls develop faster than boys. After all, there are no ancient cultivation methods in this world, everything is based on human beings. You can't say that Zoro's qualifications are not good, can you? Chapter 18. Golden Island. No one really thinks I'm weak, right? Advertise here. Golden Island. Over the entire sea, there are a few islands that always gather a large number of messy people. And the most famous on the Grand Line is the Sabayati Archipelago. This island is the most special, even including celestial dragons, all kinds of people gather there. Same. In New World, the most famous is the Golden Island. Golden Island. As the name suggests, it's a golden island, of course. That's because the color of the soil is different, not to say that it is really made of gold, just kidding. If it's really pure gold, with this size, it is estimated that the whole world can punch out its own dog's head. Because of the special color of the Golden Island, over time, a large number of businessmen gathered here, and slowly, a chaos similar to the Sabayati Archipelago was formed. But, as far as the sturdy folk customs of New World are concerned, they really understand everything. As long as they are not idiots, they are very clear about what is going on in New World. This is the Golden Island. Well, Locke looked at the Golden Island that was gradually approaching the shore, but he didn't have the idea of taking a stroll, and said lazily, "Spirit of the ship, I will leave the search for the designer to you, and I will not leave the pirate ship." It is good. Chuan Ling nodded lightly, and said, "The old man will arrange someone to deal with it, but before that, Locke, you still have some things to deal with." Locke nodded quietly, very helpless, and finally stood up struggling. It's really troublesome to go home. These guys. Is it so efficient? Locke doesn't know what he should complain about. Isn't this efficiency a bit too high? As predicted, a large number of pirates have gradually come straight to the pirate ship. Brush. The leading pirate directly pulled out the steel knife in his hand, and said sharply, "Hey. Hey, you are Edward Locke, right?" Locke said casually, "If there's no one else, it's me." He, brat. The pirate said ferociously, "Do you think Lousy is joking with you? Hurry up and hand over all the treasures of your Whitebeard pirate group, and Lousy can consider saving your life for Whitebeard's face. Otherwise, you let Lousy die here." A terrifying killing intent burst out, and the corners of the ferocious pirate's mouth were cut open, and the shark teeth opened the corners of the mouth like a devil, as if to devour everything. Locke didn't feel any annoyance or anger when dealing with this attitude. Instead, he asked strangely, "With your strength, my elder brother probably can handle it easily. Who gave you the courage?" Ha ha ha. The leader of the pirate let out a wild laugh, and the whole person became crazy, saying, "Of course. If Whitebeard were here, Lousy would not come to this trouble. But, Locke, you don't have to delay here time, you don't think Whitebeard has time to save you, do you? Pooh, traces of Whitebeard have been found elsewhere. And you little devil, nothing more than rubbish, obediently hand over your treasure, Lousy can still consider letting you go. Otherwise, you just let Lousy die here. That's right. That's right." What responded to this pirate was deafening roars. All the pirates were roaring like crazy. I see. Locke nodded knowingly. He understood. His brother's traces were leaked. No wonder. I had just arrived at Golden Island and was being targeted. Indeed. Just like what they said, if Newgate was here, if they had 10 guts, they wouldn't dare to follow him. Joke. Really Whitebeard's name, is that a joke? Therefore. They won't come to make trouble, but Whitebeard is not here now. The old, the weak, the sick and the disabled are on the pirate ship, plus the treasure of the Whitebeard pirate group, just kidding. These guys' minds immediately became active. Everyone has some ideas. If this can be done. Everyone is full of excitement, as long as there is a wave, then. The benefits are quite astonishing. Big deal. After this vote is done, they will hide in the 4 seas and hide their names. With so much wealth, it is enough for them to live a lifetime of glory and wealth, and they will be pirates in the future. Except for Newgate who went to sea to find his family. Except for people like Luogia who ventured out to sea. The idea of most pirates going to sea is actually one, that is to burn, kill and rob for treasure. Pirates. Don't put it so nobly, a thief is a thief, and this cannot be changed in a lifetime, so I say. To be honest, just admit that you are a thief and you are done. What nonsense is there? All right, don't talk so much nonsense. Brat. Would you like to hand over the treasure? The pirate in the lead restrained his smile, and his killing intent became more and more terrifying, in fact. He said it nicely, even if Locke really took out the treasure, he would kill Locke. Joke. Those with bare feet are not afraid of those who wear shoes. He is also alone. After finishing this vote, he hides. Who is afraid of whom? Locke shook his head calmly and said, "Impossible, these treasures belong to our Whitebeard pirates, and it is definitely impossible to hand them over to you. Come on, brothers, kill, roar." Moment. A large number of pirates rushed directly onto the pirate ship. Only. Next moment. Just like shells, how they came here is how they went back, lying on the ground one by one, looking half dead, the blood overflowing from the mouth, the broken chest just knew what they were like. Really are. No one really thinks I'm weak, actually a piece of trash, right? P.S. Xiaogui's new book is uploaded. Every chapter 19. Unicorn double jump, evolve Geruruman. A breeze blew by. Locke's figure stepped out from the bow step by step. Locke is wearing half sleeves and shorts, and a pair of slippers. It seemed very helpless. Sighing silently and helplessly, Locke said boredly, "So, you really treat me as a waste. Really, even if I look lazy, I won't look down on me so much, right?" How to say? Locke also felt quite helpless, even if he looked himself, he was indeed a little lazy. But I am not a waste either. Indeed, I really don't exercise all day, but the problem is. Doesn't that mean you're weak? Locke inherited part of the authority of the world tree. Although this part of authority seems to be almost useless, the problem is. The power of the Tyrannosaurus beast will actually be blessed on its own body. In other words, as long as you think about it, then. His own strength is equal to that of Tyrannosaurus. Moreover, is Locke himself weak? Joke. Don't look down on me, okay? Don't look at Locke who rarely exercises or works hard to improve himself. In fact, Locke's strength is just not as good as his own brother like Newgate. Ordinary guy, you try it. It's not the opponents at all. Locke was also too lazy to say anything, silently shaking his head, just continued to look down at the pirates below. Quote. Only, at this time, it was impossible for all the pirates to retreat. Retreat. Die. Do not retreat. Die. So, fight. Kill. With the roar, they rushed up directly, one by one, went straight to Locke. In their view, Locke was a bit powerful, but that's about it. As long as Locke is disposed of, the treasure is still theirs. Vista. Locke pointed to the pirate in front of him, and said casually, "Go and try it out, choose the pirate that suits you, and defeat the opponent, of course. My purpose is to let you hone it, not to make you work hard. It's not about letting you die." Okay, uncle. Vista immediately nodded obediently, held his long knife, found an opponent, and rushed up to fight the opponent with the bayonet. Seriously, Locke is also quite bored with the strength of these pirates. This kid actually fights a bayonet with a kid of how old? How weak are you? You are the legendary waste, right? Eat my head hammer. Eat my spikes. Poke you to death. Watch out. Compared with Locke and Vista, the unicorns jumped up, jumped down, and jumped directly, one with a hammer and one with a unicorn, and dealt with those half-dead pirates who were knocked out by Locke lose. Buzz. At this time, the light of evolution is shining, under the pure white light, while the unicorn is bathed in the light of evolution, gradually evolving. Locke secretly said in his heart, "Is the quality gap so big?" At the beginning, the rolling beast just killed a small fish from the Locke's pirates, and then it evolved. The unicorn has already made up 7 or 8 knives, so it evolved. Quote. It's about the same. Locke calculated a little. Actually, it's really almost the same. If the strength of the Locke's pirates is the same as that of these garbage, that would be the strangest thing. After carefully estimating the situation, Locke thinks it's actually pretty much the same. After all, in such a huge pirate group, when the people around them are all strong, it would be the strangest thing if they were weak. Explosive flame bomb. The blue flame directly covered a pirate. What? With the shrill scream, the pirate was directly sprayed to death. F***K. Locke couldn't help being stunned looking at this pirate, MMP. Are you really too weak? Just that much strength. Don't make trouble. Don't make trouble. The strength of Gabuman is not considered strong, is it? Result. You were sprayed to death by Gabu Beast. This. Locke escaped the pirate's deadly knife, and then kicked him out. In midair, Gabuman added another burst of flame bombs to kill the pirate directly. Next. It is purely a one-sided massacre battle. Locke easily dealt with these pirates one by one, basically they were all left to breathe, or they were half dead and let Gabuman make up the knife. So, you can give Gabuman a brush of experience. Locke has discovered that it is actually very easy to evolve from infancy to maturity. But, evolving from maturity to full body and ultimate body, the experience points required are very terrifying. Locke made a little calculation, but it's actually quite normal. If you do a little calculation, you can actually understand the similar gap. Rear Admiral, Vice Admiral, Admiral. How big is the strength gap between them? As long as you are not an idiot, you can probably understand this. Snapped. Snapped. Clapping his hands, Locke looked around and saw that the thousands of pirates who had besieged were basically dealt with. He said boringly. Really, with such strength, how dare you come here and ask for trouble? Really, the weaker the guy, the crazier he is. Locke has a look of emotion, after all. These guys are all barefoot and not afraid to wear shoes, the kind who can run as soon as they get a vote, and the really powerful ones are all big and powerful. Is it crazy to provoke Newgate for nothing? You see, if Newgate is alone, he will attack you madly, how do you feel? And, just when Locke turned his head, he saw that Vista was in the process of bayoneting a new pirate. Buzz. The light of evolution shines again, and Gabuman is shrouded by the light of evolution, followed by a lone wolf, roaring upwards. Geruruman. Double jump. Chapter 20. After a few months. Back to the Sphinx again. Advertise here. Roar. Following Geruruman let out the roar of a lone wolf. Followed by, Geruruman has turned into a streamer. If, a Digimon with the power of Greymon. So, Geruruman is a Digimon of speed. Geruruman roaring up to the sky, will 1, 2, 3. A large number of pirates harvested their lives very quickly, so their lives were naturally disposed of directly. Don't always think that there will be some kind of messy guy. Undeniable. Smile. Araki. These guys are all selected from the world's great conscription, and are hidden in the folk powerhouses in the world. But, one thing you must be clear about is that there are definitely strong people hidden among the people. Besides these two, there are also others. Can jump out chirping. Here is a picture of pirates like this. You expect these guys to be very good. What a joke. It's just a big joke. It's impossible. As far as the level of rubbish of these pirates is concerned, it's like a joke. With this kind of pirates, they are basically making a fortune and failing. At worst, I will give you my life. Basically, they are a group of such guys. What else can you say about such guys? Pure nonsense. The Garuru beast roared up to the sky, and after a large number of pirates had been killed, the other people also had solemn expressions in their eyes, although they had no intention of making a move. Never thought that the strength of the Whitebeard pirates would be so amazing. Edward Locke. Plus, are special creatures like Geruruman and the Tyrannosaurus beast so strong? Vista defeated the opponent in front of him, and in the head-to-head confrontation, he won. Panting heavily, the immature boy sat down on the ground. Followed by, he fell into a deep sleep, and that feeling was actually very normal. It was finally over, and he also won the victory, defeating his opponent. Locke nodded casually, looked around, made sure there was no problem, and looked away. This matter is over. The next thing is much simpler. After all, in this way, there are only a small number of guys who talk about their brains as if they have no brains every day, or in other words, there are only a very small group of people like them who have no brains. After seeing the Whitebeard pirates, even without Newgate, they have amazing strength. Therefore, those who didn't have any ideas in the first place naturally had no more ideas. Again, barefoot people are not afraid of wearing shoes. Above this sea, who doesn't know? Newgate attaches great importance to his family, if this really kills Newgate's family here. It is estimated that the situation is very interesting. Don't doubt it. Based on Newgate's character, guess what the result will be? At that time, the one with bare feet is Newgate. Your family has a big business. Look at Newgate who will stare at you every day. A guy with such terrifying strength and only one person, what do you think will be the result? Estimate. Some people have dead hearts, and this is the fundamental reason. From here, it can be seen how terrifying Newgate is. That's right. Chuan Ling watched all this back and forth, but curled his lips very calmly and said, the old man said that these pirates are the most annoying guys, and they are all like brainless lunatics. Wrong. That's nothing like that at all. They're just lunatics without a brain. They're just a bunch of idiots. Guys like that deserve to die. Quote. Locke silently looked at the cursing Chuan Ling, feeling emotional in his heart, and said, this old man has a really bad temper. Anyway, the matter is over, and Locke has some things to deal with next. Designer. There are not many such occupations, after all. The architectural style of this world is more or less a bit off. There are various islands all over the world, and the four seas are fine, especially the Grand Line, which is basically hundreds or even thousands of years old. 2 islands. They are obviously 2 adjacent islands, but there is no connection during this long period of time. Under such circumstances, the designer's career is naturally reduced, after all. There are simply too many styles. Over time, it is the formation of the current very special style and pattern. But, Golden Island. To put it nicely, this is a place where people from the 3 teachings and 9 streams gather, but to put it badly, it is a place where a group of sneaky people and messy people gather. Who can you not find? The more chaotic the place, the more you can find a lot of messy people. Soon, Locke just found a very good designer, who can open his mouth and shut his mouth. My grandmasters design styles of 100 countries, and my grandmasters architectural styles of 200 countries. Good guy. Locke doesn't know much about this aspect, but Chuan Ling understands it. It's no problem to ask a little bit, although he always talks big, but there is no doubt that people really have such abilities. What Locke couldn't help complaining about this is, maybe this is a capable person. Why do you always feel weird? But these are not important. The matter is finally dealt with, after the Golden Island has replenished the supplies. Locke is about to return to the voyage, and the speed is very fast. After a few months, he is going to return to Sphinx again, the hometown where he has lived for almost 15 years. Chapter 21. Lying at home. Tyrannosaurus evolves into mechanical Tyrannosaurus, really good. Sphinx. Once, on this island, there is a powerful empire. Its name is Sphinx Empire. Sphinx Empire. Before the long history, it was also a well-known power in New World. Only, As time goes by, everything will eventually dissipate. Strong country. It finally dissipated like this. Over time. Once. The powerful empire of the Sphinx. With the passage of time, nothing has fallen, even the terrifying island that once could accommodate tens of millions of people, no less than Sending Island. Until today. What is left is a small island instead. Although the birds are singing and the flowers are fragrant, there is nothing left on the island except for the destruction of many ancient buildings. Worth to talk about. The architectural style of the Sphinx is quite similar to the architectural style of a certain pyramid country. Of course, the similarity is just similar. Sphinx. He. Walking on this familiar road, Locke shook his head with emotion. Yes, how could it not be emotional? I have lived in Sphinx for a full 15 years. During these 15 years, I have experienced life and death pains many times, until I was rescued by my cousin. Otherwise, with those crazy pirates attacking one last time, maybe. Just like them, I died in this Sphinx. Well, never mind. I still don't think so much. The past is the past. What are you thinking about? Locke shook his head, his eyes filled with emotion, returning to his usual calm and easygoing. Awesome. It's just too beautiful. Ha. The newly recruited designer is called Lazy, a very popular name. But his ability is absolutely outstanding enough. Just came to Sphinx, looking at the Sphinx, the ruins that once belonged to the Sphinx Empire. It has been decades, hundreds, or even thousands of years' time as the scenery that can be formed. For ordinary people, isn't that just a wreck? Anyway. Locke looked at Lazy, but he couldn't see anything beautiful. But in the eyes of Lazy, this is the best design inspiration. Up to you. Locke waved his hand, while Lazy said excitedly, Mr. Locke. Don't worry, you have given me so much money, I will definitely use all my abilities and I will work hard. That's good. Correct. And Lazy continued to ask, do you have any requirements? Locke was taken aback, while Lazy continued, please tell me your opinion, and I need to talk to Vista next, Mr. Whitebeard who will come back soon, and Garuruman and so on. These are all references. Is it so troublesome? Locke finds it quite strange, isn't it just building a ship? So troublesome. Mentioning his own work, Lazy said very seriously, of course. Such a big project, and you paid so much money, then I can't have any slack, it must be everything is arranged. That's fine. If I ask. Locke thought for a while, and said very simply, I don't have any special requirements, build me a swimming pool, and then find a place with a good terrain, where you can see more scenery. Okay. And Lazy nodded very seriously, took out a small notebook and wrote down Locke's request, and then ran away. He still had a lot of work. Well, it's not a big deal anyway. Locke shrugged, showing a very calm expression, and walked towards the only remaining hill on the Sphinx Island. The Sphinx is an island of birds and flowers. And there is a small mountain in the center of the current Sphinx, which is divided into two parts, the left and the right. Locke was thinking while walking, and muttered, really? It's Sphinx. What do they need to do with terrain like Sphinx? Never mind. This is a matter for other shipbuilders and designers, and I don't think about it so much. Locke walked towards the hill step by step, and soon, he came to the top of the hill. It's here. There are many tombs, but the tombs are not big. Not even tombstones. 4 small graves. Those buried here are Locke's lifelong parents, Newgate's parents. Locke's father and Newgate's father are brothers, and the mothers of the two are actually relatives. After all, for an island as small as the Sphinx, if you say it doesn't matter, that's the strangest thing. Dad, Mom. Locke sat cross-legged on the ground quietly, and said very calmly, I'm back again, my cousin saved me, and I'm different now, so the future will get better and better. Locke was just there at the grave, talking a lot. This sentence parents. Locke screamed and felt that it was very normal. He came here through time travel. As a baby, if his parents hadn't protected him, he would have been killed by pirates. Therefore, Locke didn't think there was anything wrong with this, any psychological problem. Pure F***king bullshit. They gave birth to you, gave you life, and protected you. Your parents don't want to call. You are called a beast. Anyway, Locke seemed to have said a lot while talking to himself, but when he finished speaking, Locke leaned back and lay on the grass, looking at the sky quietly. At this moment, he was a little dazed, feel the changes brought about by your own authority. He. With a smile on the corner of Locke's mouth, he murmured, Gyronosaurus has evolved, it seems. My brother is really busy during this period of time. Good. Chapter 22. 1 Man and 1 Dragon, 7 months to make trouble in the world. Advertise here. Empty shock. Super flame. The monstrous flames exploded directly. Newgate. Tyrannosaurus. 1 man and 1 dragon directly swept the battlefield in front of them, and a large number of soldiers died tragically under the attack of the two. Mr. Whitebeard. I'm convinced. Impressed. And the headed king, after all, buried his so-called noble head. He knew that it was better for him to choose to bow his head obediently. If he continued, maybe his country would be slaughtered. Special product precious material of many countries. But these materials are nothing. The country produces them every year. As long as time is given, they will continue to be produced. But the problem is, if people die, then. But there is nothing left. Therefore, he decisively chose to surrender. Gu la la la. Listening to these familiar words, Newgate let out a heroic laugh. Follow Newgate's side. Roar. At this moment, the Tyrannosaurus let out a deafening roar, and the aura on its body changed instantly. Buzz. The white light of evolution emerged again. That bright light, everyone couldn't help squinting their eyes, and the light faded away. Instead, it is no longer a Tyrannosaurus. Rather, it is a Digimon that has evolved further. There are traces of transformation on the body, and the left hand has been completely transformed into a three-pronged mechanical arm, with biological wings on the back. It can be seen that this is not an ordinary creature, but a transformed creature. As for height, from the original height of 3 meters, it has now been raised to a minimum height of at least 8 meters. Full body. Mechanical Greymon. But, speaking of it, it seems to be quite tall, but Newgate standing next to him is 666 in height. After comparison, it seems to be the same. In fact, it also feels quite outrageous. In this world, there are really a lot of tall people. Many people's height and weight are ridiculously high, which makes people even have a strange feeling. No matter how you look at it, why do you find it strange? As for being so tall. Seriously, this is the most strange, the most outrageous thing. Of course, these are the words of the past. Now, as Greymon evolves into Mechanical Greymon, just kidding. The next job is even simpler. When you have the air supremacy, then, isn't everything much simpler? Walk. Roar. What responded to Newgate was a deafening roar. One man and one dragon set sail again. But, Newgate is actually very curious. What kind of creature is the Mechanical Tyrannosaurus, or what exactly is the fruit ability of my cousin? The summoned rolling ball beast can evolve step by step, and the evolution speed is so fast. This is only a few months. From that little guy, it has now evolved to such a huge size, and in terms of strength, it is really no less than Vice Admiral, even the strength above Vice Admiral. And this kind of strength is very interesting. If so, Locke can be summoned without limit, boy. Then the future will be different, if it is really possible to summon without limit, over time, I'm afraid. Locke's got a bunch of real monsters. Certainly. For these, Newgate just had a small idea, and then he didn't think about it too much, but continued to get busy. After all, the list given is really too long, and I don't know how long it will take to waste. Before and after, a total of 7 months, right? Holding a handheld in his hand, Locke played a simple game of King of Fighters, watching Kyo Kusanagi being directly killed by his skillful combo of Mai Shiranui. Then, with winning the game, Mai Shiranui gave herself benefits. Locke put down the handheld. What? How did you say the handheld came from? No kidding. What Locke inherited was the authority of the World Tree. What is the World Tree? That is the god of the digital world, that is the host of the digital world, that is equivalent to the god of data. Possessing such an ability, although Locke only inherited the authority of the Night King. It is impossible to create a world after a little research and development by myself, but it is too simple to create something as simple as this. Creating a handheld is definitely not a problem. And, as long as you extract the data from the memory you played in your previous life, it will be formed directly. It's been a few months, and Locke has worked it out. This got Locke very excited. Being a salted fish in this world, recuperating, although it is very good. But it was too boring. Many times, although Locke lay there lazily, he still felt bored. I have developed a handheld device by myself, what about the future console? What about game consoles? What about the drama? What about games? And also, the thought of so many possibilities. Locke's whole body started to get excited. As for those manga and anime, no kidding. Locke is not an ordinary person in this world, he is a member of the Whitebeard Pirates, big deal. Lousy himself supports 10 or 8 comic writers and novel authors, who can make a living by drawing a picture and writing a chapter. Otherwise, you will be locked in a small black room. Of course, in this situation, Locke had more of an idea, but now, what he was thinking about was, and murmured, calculate the time, brother and Tyrannosaurus, that's not right. Mechanical Tyrannosaurus has already left 7, it's been a month, these 2 guys should be back soon, right? Uncle, there are new materials sent over. Come and see. At this moment, Vista's voice came into his ears. Chapter 23. 72 countries, 36 forces, 108 magic stars. Advertise here. Locke was called out by Vista, carefully calculated the supplies in front of him, and nodded seriously. As for quality, that is the task of Chuan Ling and others, I know what a ghost. I mainly came here to see if there was any problem, and at the same time, to give money. It's fine. Locke deftly paid them off. Shipping company. These 7 months. It is not an exaggeration to make a lot of money in the Whitebeard Pirates, that is a lot of money. After all, with so many materials, even if they are not greedy, shipping alone is also very expensive. This is really no less money. Locke nodded very calmly, rubbed his chin, and thought about it. Boat spirit, if I remember correctly, actually. It should be almost collected, right? Old man, take a look. The ship spirit didn't know where it was in the black robe, but it pulled out another roll of list, flipped through it, and compared it. After a while, Chuan Ling nodded and said, "We've collected them all. If nothing else, Mr. Whitebeard should be back." Uncle, uncle. At this time, Vista ran over quickly, took the newspaper, and said, "Uncle, look, the old man and the mechanical tyrannosaur are on the newspaper again, and their reward order is coming again. Increase it." Talking. Vista's eyes are full of desire. There is no way. For pirates, the increase in rewards is almost the most exciting thing. Vista didn't offer a bounty, but as long as he was a pirate, he was very concerned about the amount of bounty he offered. That's the face of being a pirate. This is like a nickname in water margin. Just kidding, if you don't have a name, people will look down on you when you go out, no matter how capable you are. If you don't have a nickname, you are a bad brother. And in this world with a huge number of pirates, it's another way of saying, if you don't have a bounty, are you worthy of being called a pirate? Shame. He. Looking at Vista like this, Locke knew what he was thinking, and said with a chuckle, Okay, Vista, you still need to grow. In the future, you will also have a bounty of over 100 million, even more than a billion monsters. It is good, uncle. Vista is eager to try. After all, he is only 10 years old. That is really quite exciting and excited. Locke picked up the newspaper, glanced at 10 lines, and couldn't help but tease. Oh. In 7 months, my brother and mechanical Tyrannosaurus directly fought in 72 countries, looting 36 forces. Is this going to gather 108 magic stars of Tiangongdisha? Locke grumbled, before continuing to read the newspaper below. Next. It's nothing more than some nonsense, talking about how dangerous, how terrible, what to say. This is basically official nonsense. At last, the most important thing is the reward order. Brush. Locke drew a bounty. Whitebeard. Edward Newgate. Paramesha. Shock Fruit. The captain of the Whitebeard pirates. Bounty. 3 billion Baileys. Oh who. Locke was taken aback when he saw this number, and said interestingly, has it already risen to 3 billion Baileys? It seems. In the past 7 months, my brother has indeed caused too much trouble, otherwise, it would not be so big. The reward for 7 months has been doubled. My brother's strength is not weak. He was the top cadre in the Locke's pirates. The bounty is as high as 1.5 billion berries. Actually. This is not surprising. After all, my elder brother is only a cadre of the family. It should be as high as the captain's reward. If you are a cadre, it is also so high. What's the situation? So, the bounty offered by my brother is somewhat suppressed, otherwise. In any case, it must be at the level of 2 billion to 2.5 billion. Locke did a little research. The most dangerous pirates in the world basically start at 4 billion, and the cap is Luojia's 5.5648 billion Baileys. Even the monster Locke's D. Zebek is 5.5 billion. After all, in any case, Luojia has also become the One Piece, and he should have the highest reward. And the 4 billion starts with Newgate, Shiki, Luojia, Locks and other legendary pirates on the sea, are Kaido, Linlin. These are big pirates that have spanned several eras, 4 emperors pirates. Ordinary 4 emperors start with 3 billion berries. After the Battle of Ghost Island, Luffy, Luo, and Kid, the 3 of them are 3 billion berries, you can see it. As for going down, generally, the captains and cadres of the pirate group are basically hundreds of millions. Even the cadres of the pirate group at the level of 4 emperors are more than 1 billion, and they will never let you reach 2 billion. Unless, say, you are too dangerous, possessing amazing strength. This is the most important fundamental core. After all, Marine needs to maintain a balance. The captain makes people aware of the danger, and suppresses the bounty offered by the crew. This is basically the division of bounties, and if you say the range from 2 billion to 3 billion. That is the level of pirates who fight alone, which is in this range. This is the division of reward orders. My brother has already reached 3 billion Baileys. In Marine's eyes, it means that he has reached the level of 4 emperors, which is definitely dangerous enough. Locke rubbed his chin and said, brother's bounty order is not bad. It will be more useful in a short period of time. Let me see, what about the mechanical Tyrannosaurus? Mechanical Tyrannosaurus. Whitebeard pirates combatant. Bounty. 980 million Baileys. Really? Locke looked at the incomparable bounty offered at this moment, and knew that it was definitely Marine who weakened it. Chapter 24. Read a novel. Read comics. Watch anime. Stay up all night. Perfect life. Almost. Locke thought about it for a while, and nodded calmly. Indeed, it was almost enough. Normally, in an imperial group, the bounties offered by cadres are basically at the level of hundreds of millions of Baileys. Able to reach 1 billion Pele, that is the top cadres. 3 generals. Big Kanban. Basically, it has to be at this level and be able to break 1 billion. In the original book, the overall bounty of the Whitebeard pirates is actually quite high. Although Locke doesn't know the details, but a little estimation, Marco, Joe's, and Vista should all be over 1 billion. Quote. Locke put down the newspaper and the reward in his hand, looked at Vista, and smiled lightly. He. Vista, next, you have to work hard. Only by working hard can you gain fame. Correct. Locke seemed to have thought of something, but he said with a smile, you grow up well, become an uncle, and then I will get you 2 demon knives. Demon knife. Vista was immediately interested. Even though, Locke must not be good at kendo, as for his own brother. Roll. Tell him to take a taxi and get out of here. That's a fart who was good at swordsmanship, that is, to chop people with Kong Yunchi, to put it more clearly. My brother is shock fruit plus Kong Yunchi plus hockey, the combination of the 3 is a pure 3-axe, but the problem is. Because the strength, power, weapons, and hockey are too powerful in all aspects, the 3-axe is also quite powerful and amazing. So, during the past 7 months, Locke has invited many kendo masters to teach Vista. Kendo is different from a simple method of strengthening the body, and it definitely requires systematic learning. And, it turns out, Vista is definitely a genius in kendo, and his growth rate is extremely fast, and he has grown up in a short period of time. After these 7 months of systematic study, Vista certainly knows what the demon sword is. Demon knife. Demon knife. As the name suggests, this is a very amazing famous knife, they are either good knives, big knives, or supreme big knives, but one thing for sure is, the power of the demon sword is extremely terrifying, the good and fast sword is enough to rival the big fast sword, and the big fast sword is enough to stand at the apex of the big fast sword, almost comparable to the supreme big fast sword, of course. This is almost. Only, if you want Yao Dao to recognize you as the master, then you have to conquer it with vigor and courage, otherwise, the ghost knows what will happen to the Yao Dao during the battle. If it is not used well, it will suck blood. Locke smiled and said, of course, 3rd generation Kitaru and 2nd generation Kitaru, I don't know where the 1st generation Kitaru is, I still know about these 2 knives, you work hard, as long as the bounty reaches 500 million berries, Uncle will prepare these 2 demon knives for you. It is good, Uncle, it's decided in one word. Vista blushed with excitement, and he ran away excitedly. He hurriedly went to practice swords. Geruruman lay behind Locke and asked curiously, Master Locke, didn't you lie to Vista? Locke nodded, without any other thoughts, said, of course I'm lying to Vista, but I do know where the 2 demon swords are. Give him a goal to let him grow. When the time comes, no way. Let me take someone to ransack it, and I will always be able to find these 2 demon knives. Oh, Geruruman shook its head silently, it's really pitiful. Vista was completely tricked by Master Locke. That's the end of this matter. 5 days later, Newgate is back with Mechanical Greymon. Gu la la la. Holding Kong Yunchi and set foot on his homeland again, Newgate let out a heroic laugh and said excitedly, Locke. Vista, Lousy is back. Heard it. Locke rubbed his brows, and said helplessly, brother, you'll be back when you come back, why are you so annoying? What time is it? I'm still sleeping. What? He let out a lazy breath. Locke had dark circles under his eyes, obviously he had been staying up all night lately, no kidding. According to Locke's system, there are such big dark circles under the eyes, you know how fierce this guy is for staying up all night. You brat. Newgate also couldn't help laughing and cursing. Locke is full of casualness. I recently found 2 novel authors. Under the 2 worlds of closing a small black room and giving money, these 2 guys wrote it for themselves in just half a month. A 5 million word story is coming. Have a look. These guys have to be forced. As long as they are pushed to the limit, they can write and guarantee the quality. Through his own ability, Locke has developed a data conversion machine, throwing the original novel into it, and it will be automatically adapted into comics and animations. Watch anime. It's not. Then look, 2 novels, with a total of 10 million words of plot, of course it seems to be enjoyable, so I just stayed up late for half a month. After confirming that his plan is feasible, Locke has started to look for people now, writing novels, drawing comics, anyway, all kinds of styles. Locke is open to anyone, as long as you get it for me, I will give you money. After all, in this world where strength is the most important thing, this thing is really worthless. The money that Locke gave was to make them excited to death. The picture meant to be a dog for Locke. And Locke mercilessly abandoned these authors and cartoonists after draining them dry. Joke. You are out of inspiration, then. There is no need to stay here. What? Thinking about it, after staying up late for half a month, and my recent research, I couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief, and said in a daze, brother. It just so happens that you are back, so hurry up and deal with the problem, it's time to start building the sea. Thief ship. Chapter 25. Return. Banquet. Start. Advertise here. Okay. Newgate waved his hand to show that he understood. Got used to. Destroy it. And, Newgate said to his younger brother, as long as someone is with him anyway, don't wander outside alone. Look at Mecha Greymon, and look at Geruruman lying there. This moment, Newgate became excited. According to his younger brother, this can continue to evolve. Mechanical Greymon is already at the Vice Admiral level. Geruruman is exactly the same as the non-evolved Greymon. Do you mean, does a Digimon represent an Admiral-level combat power in the future? Thinking of this, Newgate is so exciting. Quote. Locke watched his elder brother see Geruruman's eyes shining, and gradually took a step back, feeling very weird. The corners of his mouth twitched slightly, and complained, "Brother, isn't there something wrong with you?" What? Newgate came back to his senses, looked at Locke's weird eyes, then at the Geruruman he was staring at, and at the shipwrights, designers, recruited workers and so on. People with various identities. This moment, Newgate fell into a kind of silence, and after a long while, he uttered a word with a correct accent. F***K. After some squabbling, Newgate followed to study the construction of the pirate ship. And Locke followed behind, sitting cross-legged on the huge mechanical left arm of the mechanical Tyrannosaurus, and asked, "Mechanical Tyrannosaurus, this time sailing, it seems that the harvest is very good." The mechanical Tyrannosaurus said, "Lord Locke, this time I followed Lord Newgate to set sail. After many battles, I defeated many opponents, so it has evolved further, but I can feel it, and I want to continue further. Evolution is very difficult." Locke waved his hand, and said very calmly, "The evolution from the perfect body to the ultimate body is so easy, okay? Don't be too eager." Yes. The mechanical Greymon lowered its head obediently. Evolution of Digimon. Actually, the change in the personality of a Digimon is also quite big, it should be said, it is very huge, and the Digimon in the mature Tyrannosaurus stage is more lively and active, and it is a foodie. And it further evolved into a complete mechanical Tyrannosaurus, and it became more mature and stable, but I don't know if it is still a foodie. As for the mechanical Tyrannosaurus further becoming the ultimate body, Locke says, "You think too much. I can see the experience slot of the mechanical Tyrannosaurus." Joke. The experience slot of the mechanical Tyrannosaurus requires at least 9/10 of it, and this. And this. This is the mechanical Tyrannosaurus who followed his brother almost all over the world, and it will not be easy to improve in the future. Take it easy. It is good. Have a banquet. Tomorrow will officially start. Roar. Gu-la-la-la. At this moment, in response to Newgate's voice, there were roars and the familiar laughter of Newgate's own cousin. Locke turned his head in astonishment, and muttered differently, "Banquet." Obviously, Locke was really a little dazed about this. But have a party. For a pirate, it must be a basic skill, and there is no doubt about it. The banquet started lively. During those 7 months, Locke recruited nearly 100,000 people. Of course, these guys aren't part of the future Whitebeard pirates, or even say. They have nothing to do with being part of the Whitebeard pirates. These people are all except the cult shipwrights of Shipgrave. A designer from Golden Island. It is workers from all over the world, as well as people of various identities and occupations. After all, the transformation of such a huge island is not something that only the so-called shipwrights and designers can do. Most of the time, they carry out the work of commanding. Father. Vista finally found an opportunity to come to Newgate, and the little guy was very excited. Newgate looked at Vista, narrowed his eyes slightly, then nodded seriously, patted Vista's small shoulder, and said firmly, "Vista. You are very good, and you must work harder in the future." Quote. When Vista heard his father's words, his whole face turned red with excitement. The little gentleman suppressed his excitement and said seriously, "Dad. I know. Go to play." "Okay. Oh who?" Vista ran to the side, and this was the one who shouted excitedly, after all. He was just a child and had no relatives since he was a child. Now, his only elders, especially his father, praised him. Of course, this is what excites him the most. "I want to work harder. I will definitely work harder. So, only by getting Dad's approval. Only by being recognized by the uncle. The #1 swordsman in the world. I'm sure." Vista roared excitedly, and after gulping food, he ran directly to exercise. Quote. Observation hockey of Newgate naturally saw Vista's situation, and asked in astonishment, "Locke, what's going on? Boy, what's wrong?" Locke Shong spread his hands and said, "Ghost knows. Maybe my usual encouragement is useful." "What incentive?" Newgate asked. Locke also said casually, "What is the world's #1 swordsman? Grow up well. When we grow old, we will protect you and me. Then, we will also prepare 2 demon knives for him. In short, pick the one that sounds good. For children, of course the main thing is to motivate him, let him work harder, find a few kendo teachers, and teach him the basics." Quote. Listening to Locke's simple method, Newgate began to doubt life gradually.